ready to roll here. So, welcome to Tuesday, January 6, 2026 meeting. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agenda and speaker request forms are located at the back chambers back there if anybody wants to have public comment or wants to speak on a specific topic. Thank you. Everybody's here today, so we've got a quorum, so we don't need to have a roll call. So we will have a moment of silence for all that's happening in the country with what's happening over in Venezuela, for the people in Venezuela, that some of them people have never been free in their entire life, so hopefully that'll happen for them, and will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I still get a little emotional doing the Pledge of Allegiance ever since I've been a little kid, but so today we'll have a review and approve the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion?
Second.
And a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, 2026. We will have opened the floor to nominations for the president, or not president, the chair of the commission. So if I would open up to the commission for nominations for the chair, and then what we'll do is we will have a roll call vote on the chair, and we'll move down from everybody that's nominated, we'll move down the line. So if I open up the
Chair.
floor. Yep.
Motion for Ron Weifenbach to be the chair?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We don't need any motions, we just.
Right, don't need a
Yeah,
second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay.
we're just gonna, any other nominations? Okay, seeing any other, we'll do a roll call vote. Kara, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. So we'll move on to the vice chair. So we get nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'm going to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Ron Roskinek.
we have a yeah, okay.
Just
Do
a
we need-
nomination.
Do we need seconds, or that's a nomination?
just a
Yeah.
nomination.
So we're trying to work through Robert's Rules of Order here, guys, so we're getting it under control. Okay, so we have Ron Roskinek, any other? Okay, so we'll have a roll call vote for Ron Roskinek as vice chair.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. So motion carries. So Ron, you'll be the vice chair. Congratulations, sir. And I just want to say thank you guys for instilling some trust in me. I think I'm getting a little better at doing this and trying to work through Robert's Rules of Orders and make a good meeting for the people that come here, so they understand what the rules are and everything like that. So, okay, we'll move on to item number 7. The Board of Commission uses a consent agenda to act upon non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion from the Board of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the agenda. So if anybody from the audience would like to remove one of the items.
Speak to 7D potentially, so. Yep.
So 7, we got our motion to remove 7D. So when we remove 7D, does anybody else from the audience want to remove anything? Okay, how about the commission?
I would,
You want to remove something from the? Aye. So, okay, we'll remove D and I.
and F, I would like to remove.
D, I, and F? Mm-hmm. Oh, my pen quit working, guys. D, I, and F. Okay, so far we removed D, I, and F. Is that correct? Jordan, thank you. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve everything else.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion from Durr, second by Roskinek. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to item D, 7D. to approve the abatement application for tax year 2024 for Kent and Brenda Brown. We have a speaker request on item 7D, Jillian Smith. Jillian, are you here? Come forward, Jillian, just give us your name and for the record.
Good morning. My name is Jillian Smith. I'm an attorney and I represent Cook Council.
Okay. And you had something to say on this item, Jillian?
Yes. Last year, prior to November 1st, Cook Council did apply for an exemption from property tax for the property at issue. And we did appear at the April meeting to ensure that that went through. You may recall we were here. And that was granted. Cook Council did receive later, very close to November 1st, information that taxes were due on the property. Cook Council paid all taxes in full for 2023 and then did pay under protest the taxes for 2024. I just wanted to note that under the relevant statute, which is South Dakota Codified Law 10415, the application for tax exemption status is required prior to November 1st of the tax year. And it doesn't say the tax year prior to the tax year. It says of the tax year. So the application was made prior to November 1st of the tax year. We appeared here, that was all confirmed. And then we would be requesting an abatement and a refund of the taxes that were paid.
Thank you. So you haven't requested it yet then?
We did,
You did request it, so it's coming through the process then?
yes.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give that context
Yep,
and
thank
be
you.
available
Yep,
if there were any
we
questions.
all recall that, so.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Then we're going to go to 7I.
I'll add a request if I have to.
Pardon?
I'll add a request if I have to, but I
Oh.
request that I.
Yeah.
That's what he's telling you to come up, James.
Yeah, come on up, James. Yeah, you wanted to talk on that.
Sure. And forgive me for not putting it on my speaker request because the consent agenda on the agenda is before public comment, which doesn't leave a lot of people to be able to speak on it. May I ask in the future that the consent agenda go after public comment?
Well, you can actually request like you did to speak on this if you like, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So on this is about tax certificate sales, and there was an issue in the past that I just noticed again this year, is that the county treasurer is actually selling tax certificates for the current year. She can't do that by law. They tried to rationalize it, saying that taxes, although everybody pays them in April and October, are actually supposedly due January 1st. However, she has added those amounts onto tax certificates, and the tax certificate law specifically says you can't sell a tax certificate until after December of the year due. And so what is going on is to redeem a tax certificate, not only do you have to pay last year's taxes, but you have to pay all of this year's taxes in full, which I believe is depriving people of their rights, because you got somebody who's maybe shorthand during the months of December, and then you're now demanding them to pay 2 years of taxes that aren't even due yet. The April taxes aren't due till April, the October taxes aren't due until October. So why is the auditor demanding people to pay their taxes in full for the year? And I hope the commission and the treasurer has a good answer, because they sent me the statutes, and not one applies to demanding taxes early.
I think that this is an item that we can talk about, so I think Annette's here, because I know Sabrina's not here today, the auditor's not here today, so.
Well, this is a treasurer issue.
Yeah, the treasurer's here, so if she wanted to come forward, Annette, you want to come forward and maybe give us a little explanation on this? I know there's been some different changes in these, the way these are handled. I mean, I know that the state has looked at these and had some issues with them, so can you explain how that works for them?
Good morning, Commissioners. Annette Brandt, Pennington County Treasurer. Specifically in regards to Mr. Bialotta's complaint about how the county views the taxes being due, South Dakota Codified Law 1021-4, and I have it in front of me. I also supplied this to James this year, and I think about 4 years ago as well. We've had this discussion, but the taxes are due on January 1st of each year. taxes are a year in arrear. So 2024 taxes were due on January 1 of 2025. They're delinquent if they're not paid by the first half by April, the second half by October. And so the second statute then that comes into play when a tax certificate is placed on the property is that the following year, if a tax certificate is placed on those delinquent taxes, that we can require all of the taxes that are on that property to be paid up. We, as a general rule, we can do it for all of them based on 1021-23, and I can read that if you'd like, but it
You're
also.
fine. I think we can look it up after the fact.
Okay.
Just give us.
The 1021-23, or excuse me, 1024-7 is what allows us to be able to require the payment of all the taxes that are due. And the reason that we do that is because those delinquent taxes have a tax certificate on it now that is open for sale to anybody that comes in to the county that wants to purchase a tax lien for the interest on the property. Reverting back to your question, Commissioner Weifenbach, regarding there's a lot of changes going on with that. That's after the tax certificate goes to a tax lien,
Okay.
or excuse me, a tax deed.
Sure.
And those are where the changes happen, but nothing has happened prior to that. So if it's an open certificate, which means that we've had the tax sale, nobody's bid on it, it's bid off in the name of the county, so Pennington County owns it, and we offer that for sale in a private sale, so anybody can come in and purchase that. But the ones that are sold at the sale are now a third party's involved with that. They've purchased that tax lien. The money is all distributed out to the different entities that tax money goes to. And then the owner of the property then needs to redeem that certificate through the county treasurer's office.
So you had mentioned, so if it's due in January of 2024, but not payable till April of 2025, but in January of 2024, you're requesting that they bring all those to date? That's a policy
No,
in
well,
the Treasurer's Department?
No, what he's referring to is taxes are a year in arrear, so let's
Right.
say for this year's taxes, just to help explain, because it's a
perfect,
year in
okay.
arrear, right? 2025 taxes are loaded on the on our tax bills.
And they'll be
Everybody's
payable
got
in
their notice.
2026, right?
2025 have to be, they're made payable in 2026. They're due in January, but the interest starts accruing, they're late after April and after October, the first half and second half.
That makes sense.
So if there's a certificate on that from the prior year taxes,
Oh, so that would go back to 2024.
24 taxes that haven't been paid, then we would require the full year if somebody else has purchased that tax certificate. If the county still owns it, we would only require the first half. And the reason that we have evolved to that over the last probably 10 years is because if they come in and pay their taxes current, and then it just, in the next year, it just goes to certificate again, and it just keeps doing that, which costs the county money to go through all of those processes as well. And 1024-7 comes into play that we can require them to pay those. So if it's county held, we don't force the full year. We do request the first half because taxes are due in January. But if it's got a third party involved in it, then we require the full year to get the redemption, get that third party out of there, take back the certificate that they own and all of their receipts.
You're saying the law says you can, and then you decided as a policy
Yes.
that you would do that? Okay.
Correct,
Does
yes.
anybody up there have any questions on that? Okay. So, yeah, come on, just come on up and I'll let you finish with your minute and a half, James, so.
Thank you. So, and that was very clear. Two things. One, they're not allowed to sell a tax certificate until it's delinquent. What she failed to say is that when they're selling the certs from last year, they're adding this year's taxes, which is not allowed by law. Absolutely not. The county might have a policy to add it, but she doesn't have the right to sell it, in which she did. So there's a big difference there.
I see what you're saying.
Somebody's tiptoeing through the truth, but that's what's happened. They've added these totals to the tax certificate, which they're specifically not allowed to do. And just because you can do something doesn't mean one should. And when she's telling them about extra fees, have no fear. The county bills the taxpayer for each and every one of those fees to redeem. So it's a little disingenuous to say there's an extra fee, but forgetting to mention that the taxpayer pays that fee to redeem those taxes.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Any other questions from the commission? I will entertain a motion on this item. 7I.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve I.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. And
Mr. Chair, could we also get a motion for 7D? Because we kind of skipped past actually
I'm
approving
sorry.
that one.
Okay, so we'll go back to 7D.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Move to approve 7B.
We have a motion and a second to approve 7D. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, and then we'll move on down to 7F. That was, or 7I, okay.
Yeah, we're on 7F.
Yeah, 7F, yep. To designate Wells Fargo, Bank of South Dakota, First Interstate. Somebody wanted to visit about that.
That would be me.
That'd be Jerry. Jerry, I'm sorry, I went out of line there. I
all
didn't know
right.
my alphabet. Go
So, yeah, Ned, I kind of spoke to you a little bit earlier and had Jordan kind of flag this for you yesterday. And so I'm looking at the request from JP Morgan, and currently they don't fit the criteria for what is required.
That is correct. They are anticipating fitting the criteria. They sent a letter December 16th, 2025 to both myself and the commissioners requesting for us to consider to put them on in anticipation for the changes and the options that they might have available in the future for Pennington County. So.
All right. And so my comment related to this is kind of twofold. One, they don't currently meet the criteria, so I don't want to put them on a list and say in the future, because if they do meet the criteria, we can revisit that and do our bank designation. And then the other question I had related to this was, and JP Morgan is kind of the one that flagged it for me, but I'm more into investing locally in local banks and not in, national banks. And so when's the last time that the county, or have we gone out for an RFP for our banking services?
Annette, you want to answer that, please?
Annette Brandt, Pennington County Treasurer. I believe it's probably been, I can remember exactly where I was, but I don't remember the date, sorry. Janet Saylor was here at that time, so it's been quite a while ago.
All right.
I would, if I'm going to guess, I'm going to say probably 8 years ago.
All right. So my comment, I guess I would like to see us at some point in time, one, I don't want to approve somebody that doesn't meet the criteria that's not a local bank, and then look at doing an RFP and just kind of refreshing and putting it out there and seeing what comes back. I've been involved in those before, and, anyway, even some of the partners that, county governments work with, when you put it out there for an RFP, sometimes they come in with a better deal, and or competitors come in. And so I just think it's an open process. But my position is I just lean more toward local banks and investing our tax dollars locally.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify. So the RFP went out for our main bank, which was Wells Fargo. But as far as investments, as soon as a CD or a security becomes due, we call out on those on a regular basis. Sometimes we're at a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 12-month. So on those are on a regular basis with just the local banks.
Okay. And then our main banking, like you said, with Wells Fargo, but do we put it out to Pioneer, First Interstate, et cetera? So
We haven't since that
Okay.
that's the last RFP that
So
went out.
those are my comments that I think, would just, be worth putting it out there to see what we get back.
Is that something you'd consider, or maybe you can work that through. Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking to change a bank for a county, but you're grinning, you know that's a huge undertaking, but it's not something that can't be done, for sure, so,
No, and it,
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Yeah, my comment would be, it doesn't mean that, we would be changing banks because the individual we're dealing with might come back with a better deal. But
Correct.
I think it's good just to see a competitive analysis as to what we could do locally.
Okay, yep, thank you, I'll
Perfect. I
consider
think
that for sure.
I'll entertain a motion, and I'm assuming you want to eliminate JP Morgan, so I'll look at you, Jerry, if.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to approve as submitted, removing JP Morgan as a primary active depository for Pennington County.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, yep, thank
Miss
you.
Annette, we appreciate the time. Okay, that should eliminate all of 7 for us, and we'll move on to 8. Speaker request form is required. This is items from the public. Speaker request form is required. Action will not be taken during this section on any issues brought forth that are not properly noticed. Speakers under this section will be recorded in the minutes by name and area of interest. This gives the public an opportunity to come to us and tell us some things that may be on their mind. And we do have a few public comments today. And Mr. James Bellato, I know you're on here for public comment. So did you want to come forward? Because you're also on here for 11 and 14. So when we get to those items, but you got the floor for 3 minutes, sir.
Well, to start with, I want to thank the board this morning for appointing a new vice chair. We all saw earlier last year what happened when Deb Hadcock was in charge, depriving people of their rights. And I'm still waiting for an action on that. And that's why we'll be discussing that in 14. So what should we do? We all know, we all watched what happened. This board does not have the authority to limit someone's free speech. And yet, for some reason, certain individuals think they can. What was more disheartening is that not any other board member spoke up to stop it. And I think that's something to be said. You guys swore an oath to the Constitution, and I'm going to hold you to it from now on. Thank you.
Thank you. No, we'll just keep moving.
You seem to speak on your stuff. Let me speak on this, please.
This is public comment, though. We don't
I know,
really.
you spoke on it when someone said something about your issues, didn't you?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, he did mention you, so I guess that would be fair.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So that day, nobody else said anything. They just made new rules on your bylaw, so that's a little bit different because of your decorum. It wasn't just me, just because people don't speak up doesn't mean when they come up to the next set that there's going to be something different that happens when you act like you did before. So just because 4 other people didn't say anything that day, they understood the same thing I did. I was the only one that didn't feel that decorum that day needed to be as it was. Freedom of speech has always been part of what I do, and I've been the chair long enough in these city council or here by a lot and never limited anybody unless decorum wasn't set. And we do have an agenda for a reason. It's not here to beat the heck out of everybody. So you get to say whatever you want to say, but you also have to tell the facts and the truth on some of that where you're starting to beat people up just because you can. That's not decorum, sir. So you can say First Amendment, but other people do the same thing when somebody's out of line. So other people just do it behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item.
Minutes to respond.
No, we'll move on. And I
I got 2 minutes to respond. She
Well-
mentioned me by name.
No, you mentioned me first.
yeah, go ahead, but we're not going to go into back and forth, James.
That's Robert's rules.
I can tell you that we as a commission have taken seriously about some of the comments that you made, and we've done some of our own research, and so we've adjusted some of our public comment to fit that. So that being said, understand that's being done. So go.
Right.
I'll give you a minute.
And let's talk about decorum. The public is allowed to curse you out, if they feel. I didn't do that. Naming names and corruption is not a violation of decorum, because we've watched this more than once by Deb Hadcock. Anytime names are mentioned in corruption, it's, oh shoot, we got to shut him up. That's not a decorum violation.
Oh, hold on a second. All right.
Decorum is somebody breaking the law, disorderly conduct. But guess what? Freedom of speech even protects cursing, which didn't even happen. So you guys got to look at your decorum standards really good because you guys are still pending a lawsuit, and this is just icing for the cake when she says it's decorum for naming names and corruption. And I got the facts. Whether your state's attorneys, who I busted criminally witness tampering and lying to the court, you want to believe, you go right ahead. Because I won't. And I got the facts that they did it in writing from their own government emails.
Thanks, James. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9.
There's more public comment. There's another form.
Jordan, go ahead.
Public comment, you have another form, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. I got them right here in my hand. So Chet Ellsworth, you're next. You get 3 minutes to have the floor, Chet. If you just want to come forward and we'll recognize you and give you the floor.
Chet Ellsworth, Rapid City. I'm here to request and note that you have received my numerous FOIAs to the auditing department, the commission office, and the Department of Human Resources. Carol Bancroft. And have received insufficient responses, if any, including no sufficient response concerning the lack of audio on the video for Mr. Bellotta last meeting, completely taken off the record. All that I have sent, the responses have been contemptuous and inflammatory. I request this committee, with the exception of Ms. Hadcock, and including the commissioners, including the commission director and staff, to recuse themselves and resign. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not resigning, so. William Wagner?
Morning, Commissioners. Kind of saw that y'all were going to talk about raises today, so that's why I came in. I got 2 things. Well, under Article 12, subsection 3, expenditures and contracts, any executive officer or contractor that's in an active contract and gives money to or take money from their contract has nulled and voided their contract. And if you look at the home rule law, you know, you're supposed to follow the South Dakota Constitution. And then also I would like to add on the ordinance for the solar farms and wind farms, when y'all start getting these LLCs, y'all need to make sure they're not shell LLCs and being used by foreign governments. As like the solar farms over here is Britain, the one that's running, the one that's coming in is Italy. And you could do research, 35% of the stakeholders of Italy is China. And one of their chair board members goes and sits at the Italy's electrical grid board as well. So y'all need to also take into consideration the new law where any foreign entity was, usually China, Iran, North Korea, and there's one more, that if they're trying to lease or buy land next to a military installation, they're supposed to have a federal foreign investment investigation, which already started 4 of those within our cities in New Underwood and in Piedmont. So I hope y'all would consider putting in the ordinances to do this and follow the federal law. If you look at the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Paragraph 2, that if we have a conflict within the state, that the federal Constitution supersedes everything, the law of the land. And the Ellsworth is protected with a 100-mile radius of any foreign entity trying to lease or buy land here next to Ellsworth because of such high, very critical military, airplanes, drones, and all that stuff. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, William. Have a good day. Okay, we'll move on. Is there any other items from public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9, items from the commission office. Jordan, you have the floor, sir.
Absolutely. Jordan Nebb, the Director of the Commission Office. The first one's a pretty easy one. Every year, it's a one-year term for the Extension Advisory Board. That seats. If members are seeking re-election and there's no complaints as to why, then they can just get reappointed right now. And so that is what's being brought before the board at this point. Each of the 6 members are currently seated, and they are all seeking reappointment. And we did ask whether or not our 4-H educators had any issues with reappointment. No one had any issues with the current board members, so I would request that you move to appoint Patty Brunner, Heather Chambliss, John James, Dennis Meyer, Tyler Myers, and Matthew Auden to the 2026 Extension Advisory Board to serve a one-year term.
So moved.
Motion from Hadcock and a second from Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to item 10, resolution of support for box elder contracts, excise tax. Rob, Tim. Hi, Rob. And
Good morning.
Thank you for the awesome pins, by the way.
You betcha.
Yeah.
Jordan, I think I'll let you do the honors today, so.
Right. Give you 1 second.
Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak this morning. My name is Rob Tim. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the City of Box Elder. And so before we begin, in response to the unprecedented construction occurring on Ellsworth Air Force Base and the subsequent damage to adjacent roadways due to that increased construction-related traffic, this excise tax coalition is kind of born. Next slide, please. And so we'll get into that in a bit here. Maybe you don't have control.
Froze on me. Yep, hold on. We'll get this.
We were arguing beforehand, not arguing, who's gonna run the slides today, so, oh, you're way far, you're too far there.
I got it.
Okay. As you all know, the B-21 bomber mission is coming. Right now, the Air Force indicates by 2035, and you can read all that. I'm not going to go into it. So right now, we've got an economic juggernaut right next door to us, nearly $900 million every year, and they're the second largest employer in the state. And so this is all before the B-21s show up right now. So you can anticipate, right now we're seeing more and more service members show up. And so we're seeing more and more growth. And so you're just going to see more and more as time goes on. Next slide, please. So what does this all mean? The B-21 Raider project, it's at least $2 billion in construction on base right now. And so what we're anticipating, I should say. Right now, we've got about $1.4 billion of approved and or completed projects right now, or in progress right now. And as you recall, if any of you are watching the news here a few weeks ago, the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act was approved with $378 million, I say that again, $378 million in construction that was approved on Ellsworth Air Force Base. And so, just to give you a prelude of what's coming in the presentation here, South Dakota, the state of South Dakota receives a 2% contractor's excise tax on all construction that occurs on Ellsworth. So keep that 2% in the back of your mind here. So if you take that $378 million that I just told you about, you've almost got $8 million right there. So keep that in the back of your mind. So now before that, just consider that the contractor's excise tax that's happening right now is not a new tax. This is not a new tax. We've been collecting this for years. Next slide, please. Now, just to give you an idea, and this is kind of a hard map to take a look at, but as you can see in Meade and Pennington County, as well as Rapid City and Box Elder, these are the impacted roadways that you see there. And where'd my little cheat sheet go? I can't remember exactly how many miles, but it's quite a number of miles that are impacted. Next slide, please. Now, previous efforts we've tried to do to kind of talk to the Department of Defense and Ellsworth about, well, we need some money to fix our roads. And what occurred with the B-21 mission announcement when we talked to them here about 2-3 years ago, They said the contracts are already signed. We can't open the contracts up, and there's really not going to be any money available to help you with your roadways. So we tried to access the Defense Access Roads program. There's a lot of red tape there, and we're not going to be very successful. And as you recall, last year, Senator Howard brought forth a Senate Bill 16, which set aside contractors' excise tax to help with various projects in general. Right, the reasons that we believe that failed, that there was no sunset clause, no specific purpose for the funds, and no set amount. And I've talked to Senator Howard regarding that, and she acknowledges that, and we're moving forward. She's very supportive of our efforts here coming into the 2026 session. So, next slide, please. Some quick raw numbers. There's where my roadway numbers were. There's 18 segments amongst the 4 entities involved that are impacted, about almost 37 miles. The cost to repair those damaged roads is about $8 million. That's about 20% of the total excise tax that's going to be garnered off of the base. So, like I said, we're looking at $2 billion worth of construction. Timeline, it's kind of probably closer to 2040 by the time things are all said and done. Just a very, very conservative number. You're looking at $40 to $50 million that the state's going to pull off of Ellsworth from the 2% contractor's excise. Next slide, please. We're doing pretty good, Jordan.
We're in sync.
So what our solution that we propose is utilize a portion, now only a portion of that contractor's excise tax from construction, and establish a fund which will probably be within the South Dakota Department of Transportation. We've talked to them a little bit about that so far. That's still in the works. And so basically some legislation that we're working on right now, we're working on the language where DOT would probably be the holder of those funds. Once the fund builds to that $8 million that we anticipate, starting building that hopefully by 2037, if not probably earlier than that, then we'll have that, the funds will sunset. We will not, once the $8 million or 2037, whichever is first, we anticipate receiving that $8 million hopefully before then. Then looking at grant funds being dispersed to partners for the projects identified in that last slide for the map. So, next slide. We talked a lot about this internally, about how to approach this. We need support from our East River friends, and so we've approached Representative Drew Peterson from Salem in District 19. He's very supportive of our efforts, and he's done some background work with a lot of our other East River legislative friends, and so we're getting some good traction with that. And of course, Senator Helene Duhamel, who's been a huge supporter of Ellsworth, and so we're very, very happy with both of these folks being able to prime sponsor this legislation. Next slide, please. So next steps. Right now, we're Representative Peterson, who's going to be bringing this forth to the House first. He's asked us to revise the legislation a little bit more, and once we've got that draft resolution about ready, almost ready for prime time, you all will see that before then. And then obviously looking at securing the resolution of support, which we have. We have a letter from you folks today, and we've got resolutions of support from Meade County and from Box Elder, and working on one from Rapid City as well. Then in the meantime, we're working on updating some of our talking points, which will be distributed to Jordan. Will get that, and he'll be able to distribute that to you folks as well, because we want you folks to be able to answer questions if someone asks a question about, well, what's this all about? Or, well, how come you guys think you guys are special compared to somebody East River? Those kind of things. Those questions are going to come up. Next slide, please. Just a few things left, and Mr. Miller is, and his staff has sent me some pictures already. We've got some pictures from Box Elder and Meade County sending us too of the damaged roadways. As you all know, a picture paints 1,000 words or whatever. So, and I've talked to Mr. Miller already about this, is prepare to come to Pier to testify. The testimony does make a difference. Coming to Pier does make a difference. And so, like I said, once this bill is ready for prime time, before we send it to LRC and what have you, you'll see a copy of this. And reach out to your area legislators and let them know what's happening. I know quite a few. I've talked to quite a few already. West River, they understand what's happening. They think this is a good potential solution to the roadway issues. And then also remember, this is not a new tax, and so it's already being collected. Next slide, please. Big thing that I want you folks to take away from all of this is that what we're doing now is, this shows the Air Force that the state has a buy-in to what's happening, that we support Ellsworth Air Force Base's short and long-term future, but it also helps with potential new missions out at the base. We've got a lot of geography out there that we can probably get some new missions in the future in addition to the B-21. And next slide, please. Questions, comments?
I'm going to go to the commission for comments if there's anybody that wants to make a comment. But,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
yep.
So, Rob, I didn't see the list of roadways that you were talking about, those 37 miles. Is there an actual list of them that's in there?
I can certainly get you that copy.
Okay, I would
Betcha.
appreciate that. Thank
You
you.
just drop that off to Jordan. He'll make copies for us. And
I'll email it to
get
him.
to him.
So
But,
I got a couple
okay.
modifications to this so.
I want to make a couple comments, and we do have a speaker request for him too, but I want to just make a comment that the Box Elder, Pennington County relationship, Rapid City has grown a lot. And I mean, we're
Absolutely,
really
sir.
looking forward to supporting you guys. It's an opportunity. There is some knuckleheads in the legislature that are trying to oppose, taxes, alleviating excise tax and these types of taxes from like data centers and stuff, but they don't realize that, I mean, these places have a lot of pressure on the infrastructure, and this is a way to actually help alleviate property tax increases and type of stuff like that. So I'm sure that we're 100% behind you here. We're 100% behind Box Elder, and we're 100% behind the Air Force. Has been wonderful. A lot of times, I think if you run around and look at the county, the people that work here, a lot of them came from Ellsworth. They
Yes, sir.
got shipped here. Maybe even yourself got shipped here.
No, I'm Army, sir, no.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm Army too, so no Army, right? And I'm gonna go to Mr. James Bialotto. He wants to speak on this, so
No, absolutely.
come on forward, James.
Well, Ron, I want to thank you. You nailed one of the things I was going to talk about. Here we are, which, we all love Ellsworth Air Force Base. I was stationed there. I'm a candidate for U.S. House. So when you talk federal issues, my ears perked up. This state is proposing giving certain people tax breaks for multi-billionaire businesses. And what I see in the excise tax, being a former federal contractor myself, you're not allowed to charge the federal government tax, nor does any state law apply to the feds. And under Trump, he might decide to fight the excise tax on this because the state doesn't have authority to bill the federal government. And those are federal taxpayer dollars. So the state's getting 2%, so the government can tax the federal people 2% more. It's just a washing of the hands of who's paying the tax. We're getting it back in the state so the rest of the U.S. population can pay 2% more. I think they're going to end up fighting this, and they might fight it all the way to remove the law completely. But that being said, we shouldn't be giving tax breaks, and we're talking about the TIF in relation to that. The county's going to lose up to $125 million in future tax payments because a municipality decided to take your funding away. And so there's a lot of these issues here. And I'm all for fixing the roads, and the construction does, damage the roads more quicker than not. So I'm all for that. But when I look at a law that's a state law imposed on the federal government, I don't see it lasting much longer when the feds find out. Thank you.
We're not looking forward to anybody telling them. So there you go. You want to come forward there, Robert?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you may.
My understanding and how this all works for the contractors, they build in that 2% within their contracts and what have you. And so essentially, a roundabout way, yes, federal government is paying that 2%, but
We can get
as we
some
all
of
know
the
with contracts.
Californians and New Yorkers to pay for some infrastructure at Box Elder. I'm happy with that.
Thank you, sir.
So I guess we'll be looking for a motion on what we're talking. Go ahead, Commissioner Durr has it.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a couple comments. One, Rob has been circulating this for a few months between Meade County and Pennington, and so we've had discussions. Highway has done a good job. Joe got his information in as requested probably, I don't know, two and a half months ago, something like that, to assist in getting some of the data put together. So thanks, Joe, at the Highway Department for helping out on this. And I know the motion, it talks about a resolution, but I'm going to make a motion that we approve the letter of support endorsing the creation of a contractor's excise rebate fund derived from Ellsworth Air Force Base construction projects to be used for associated roadway repairs.
Second.
A motion and a second.
And
All in favor?
just discussion, follow-up.
Yeah, we can have some follow-up, because I'll probably want to.
Yeah, the reason that I think a letter works better is because it doesn't cost us much more than a stamp and circulation. Every time we do a resolution on some of these things, we have to publish in the paper effective dates of resolutions and that type of thing. So I think the letter is the way to go.
So having a letter makes sense. And then I'll volunteer myself to come down and testify in Pier if I can't make it. I'm sure
Thank you, sir.
somebody will step up and we'll visit with Joe about coming down there. He's very knowledgeable about the roads. So, so we have do you want to make a comment, Deb?
Actually, I support Ron Weifenbach. You said it right. Box Elders moved ahead. Every time you go out there, something's changing. They're making a positive impact for Pennington County as well.
Exciting.
Yes, it is. It's from beginning to end. It's been, the last 10 years with your mayor and the people in that area that just decided it's time to step up. And Pennington County was one of them that decided that Box Elder needed to move ahead as well. And we've supported you on, Rapid City and the other surrounding areas. But it's nice to see that change, and that change has been pretty exciting for just cleaning up the surrounding area of Box Elder. It's a great place to live, and the people were just excited about everything that was happening. And we started with some tips and some other stuff just to get some sales tax going in Box Elder. So it's come a long way, Rob, and I'm pretty proud of Box Elder and what you guys have done there, and Pennington County's been a part of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Highcock. And we're going to lean on Frank to give us an above-the-fold picture in the Journal about our support for the B1 and Ellsworth and Box Elder. So we have a motion on the floor, and to clarify, it's for a letter, not a resolution, for a letter. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to say, give a shout out to Commissioner Durr. He's been very, very instrumental in this, and Mr. Miller as well, and his staff. They've been super supportive, and we appreciate that help.
Thank you for that shout out. We don't always get those, and some,
Well,
behind the scenes.
Mr. Chair, I'm also an elected official from Hill City. I'm on their school board. And you guys, I wanted to say beforehand, I forgot all about it, is that I appreciate all that you guys do. Being an elected official isn't always fun and games, but you do some good work, and just keep it up.
So that means you're hanging out with Mr. Ross Connect at the saloon up there.
I've never seen him before in my life.
Yeah. All right. All right, we'll move on to item number 12. Item
11.
from
11A.
11. Items from auditor. 2026 resolution establishing the fees and mileage rate for election workers. So I'm going to handle this one. It's a basic. Every year we do this to pay the election workers that are there. But we have some public comment on this item. So let's hear that before we move forward. So James, you got the floor. Just give us your name, who you are.
This will be just for items from the auditor. And I want to thank the auditor. I know she's not here. She was very candid, very polite and courteous. And so far, she's held herself accountable. And unfortunately, she acknowledged to me that all the petitions that were handed out were the improper petition. So if you're a candidate running for office, you'll have to obtain the new correct petition. They're updated December 1st of last year, and unfortunately, she gave out the one from 2019.
We appreciate you letting us know that, because she's not here today. She had.
No, I understand, but she admitted the fault. I have, nothing bad to say when somebody holds himself accountable. She admitted the fault. She was courteous about it, and that goes a long way.
Right, agreed.
The other issue is that she probably needs some more training. She did not know how to have my petition filled out.
We told her not to fill it out properly.
Well, she didn't know how to fill it out properly.
Oh, no,
she
just kidding.
She didn't understand the instructions or how to fill it out for my candidates.
She just took over as an interim, so we are working with her and trying to make her as successful as possible.
But she's been an employee here for 7 years.
That's true. That is true.
And so I'm all for if you're keeping her to sending her to a training class, but she did relay some other issues that she's asking the Secretary of State for help, and she's getting no response. And so I think the board ought to write a letter to the Secretary of State saying, excuse me, she asked you for specific things, do it. Because right now, the auditor admitted they're not in compliance with accessing public information. However, they have no way to do it currently. And so I don't know if that's a commission issue or a Secretary of State issue or an auditor issue. But there's no public terminal to access voter data. There's no public terminal to access the banking and finances of the county. There's no public terminal or way to access FOIA requests and denial letters. And these are all required to be available on demand during normal business hours. This isn't a FOA. So if somebody comes in and asks politely, may I see these records? You're supposed to go, here you go. And there is no way for her to do that currently. And I would like the county to make sure she gets a terminal that's in the public foyer to do just that. And if you can, send a letter to the Secretary of State, who is not answering her messages.
Thank you. I'll follow up on that for you, James. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
I just have one comment,
Commissioner. Go ahead.
and it's about the designation of interim auditor. And she's not an interim auditor. Anytime you make an appointment, they are the auditor, and they're up for, they have to be in the next general election. Whatever the appointment is, the elected officials, they're not temporary, they're not interim, they are the elected official.
And that position is coming up for
Correct.
for a vote. So, but anyway, I told her I would take care of this. So if I can get a motion for this, unless somebody had a comment.
Chair.
Deb, you had a comment?
Move to approve the resolution to establish pay for precinct and election workers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And so we move on to item 12, items from Human Resources. And our Human Resources Director is out, and I don't know if there's somebody else that wants to fill in for this, or elected official wage resolution. So
You have a volunteer coming forward.
got a volunteer. Oh, you volunteered? Hi, Sandy.
Good morning,
Between you and
Commissioners.
Jordan, I
Sandy
think you can help
Sortland,
us
Senior
through
HR
this, so-
Manager. Carol was able to draft and submitted an elected official resolution memo for your review, and Jordan was kind enough to put additional information into the agenda to go over wages, budgeted differences, and so we're just looking for direction from you to, if you want to increase the elected official wages.
Thank you. I'm going to open this up for discussion with the commission here, because I would bet there would be some questions or some comments. So,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek, sir.
I keep going back when we have to make this kind of a decision, is you get what you pay for. And, if we put it up we put it there that it's competitive and at the market with what a similar position would be somewhere in South Dakota or in the city of Rapid City. I think we need to be competitive on this. Not sometimes you think you're saving the county money, but you get inferior folks that don't have the work ethics that you're going to find when you sit there and put it at a competitive wage. So I don't have any problems with some of the numbers that I've seen today.
Thank you, Commissioner Oskinick. Anybody else have any comments or? Commissioner Hadcock? Your mic's not on. Jared, Commissioner.
Yeah. So getting down to the 26 budgeted, so the one I'm going to pull on is going to be the auditors. So the 26 budget, that would have been budgeted prior to the auditor's resignation. So does this 135,776 apply to our current auditor, Sabrina Green?
No, it does not.
Okay. So this is just setting what the base resolution is going to be.
Correct.
Okay.
Dungier.
Commissioner
Okay.
Hadcock.
That was my question. Go ahead.
As a point of clarification, this resolution both sets a new base rate and the 2026 wages for the elected officials. It does both. If you can see here within the resolution itself, you have whereas the minimum base annual salaries shall be set at county auditor, register of deeds, you've got that there. And then down below, in addition, effective February 1, 2026, the current or sitted elected officials' salaries shall be established as follows. And so this resolution does both, where it not only sets a new minimum, a revised minimum, it also then sets what the actual 2026 rate would be for these elected officials.
Does everybody understand that? So there's a base for the, but what if if some of these positions are, well, they wouldn't be changed in 2026 anyway, right?
No.
It would be
Not-
2027, so.
Right.
But then the base would, in 2027 would go back to that?
No.
No,
Okay.
Chair.
just new
Commissioner
ones.
Durr, go ahead.
So yeah, every year you establish by resolution what the base rate is for these positions, and primarily the reason to do it goes back to, actually pulling a petition. So if a candidate is going to go out and run for an office, they're going to know what that, base rate is for that position, so they know that, I'm running for this position, it pays X amount of dollars, that's what I'm going to get. Because, and again, tying to this, once you set the rate for an elected official, you cannot lower that rate once they're in office. And the reason I was asking about the auditor position is because I know we had, a little discussion about, which was just approved on the personnel action on consent. Might have been at the last meeting or the meeting before, setting the rate for the newly appointed auditor at $91,000, I believe. And I had a little bit of concern about that and I did ask the HR director to look at that, about 6 weeks ago. And the reason being is because there is staff in the auditor's office that the auditor is currently managing that make more money than the auditor. And I believe the chief deputy, and that's one question I did ask, what is the wage of the chief deputy?
Unfortunately, I don't have that figure.
Okay, but I do believe it's over 100,000.
I would have to look it up.
Okay,
I believe you're correct.
so I think that's in the neighborhood of, Jordan, do you recall what that wage is?
Budgeted for 26 is what I can pull up quickly here, and
It's
budgeted
on
for
our-
26 is 107,000 for
107,000.
chief deputy auditor.
Okay. And so my point, I think the elected official in the office, irrespective of time and service, even if it was somebody new coming in, should make more money if they were running and they know that what the wage is, and we, have a general election next year and we have a new auditor, they should be making more than the staff in the office.
So that's why you get with the 110. So if we
Right.
change this base to 110, then that would retroactively take the auditor right now to 110, correct?
No, this resolution would be 135.
No.
The resolution actually would put the current auditor at 112.
All right. Oh, I'm reading the rest of it here. Okay. So,
Yep.
and I'm good with that.
Everybody understands that?
Yep.
Commissioner Hadcock, you
Up.
understand that?
Yep.
Okay.
That was my question.
Okay.
And then it sounded like she was going back to 135, so the 112 makes sense.
Yeah. And then if she has, that position comes available, if it changes hands, that person will get the 110 or the 112, or how does that? Because I see on mine, it says 110 is the,
If we were to go based on the resolution.
oh, okay,
We would have the base set at 110.
okay.
Okay. I appreciate that. So what is the amount then? It's not 61,944 into the budget. Do we have anything put in the budget? Since it's not 44,000, it drops it considerably of what's in the 2026 that we budgeted for elected officials? Jordan, because it's not 61,944 now. Number two, the
If you-
base.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you approved the wage at 112,000, you would still have a little bit of a budget savings of about $23,000 in the auditor's budget.
Okay. So based on that, the other ones have already budgeted accordingly because of the wages. Okay, 2026.
So we basically seen this one coming, and
And then
that's good.
So for me, the base, I'm for the base, but we also gave considerably department head wages increases because of a wage scale in 24 and 25. Now we're giving another 4,000, another 3,000. That's a considerable amount of increase in the last 2 years for elected officials. So for me, I'm not okay with that. I think there somewhere should have been a freeze at that point, or at least a lowered based on what we just did for wage increases. Those wage increases for department heads were done by department heads and brought forward to this commission at that time, and wasn't in agreement with those types of wages moving up that high. I did agree with some of it. There was 27% in Pennington County on those wage scales that were over the top. So for me, and then to approve some more of another 4,000, 3,000, not that any of these people don't do a good job as department heads or elected officials, it's because those wage increases were 30,000, 20,000, 15,000, some huge increases, and now we're going to give them another 4,000, 3,000. That's a pretty good jump in the last 2 years. So for me, not in agreement with the new proposed one, but the one that's going to be for the new ones coming in. That makes more sense. If we're going to start it from there and then move forward, I'm good with that. But again, because of what happened in the past and been here on those wage scales and how that wage scale worked, I won't be in agreement in this kind of wage scale increase for the 2026 elected officials.
Mr. Chair, may I clarify?
Commissioner, Commission Officer Manager Jordan. You got
Yes.
the floor, sir.
Just as one final point of clarification, the numbers presented in this resolution, other than the county auditor, do not represent the budgeted 2.9% COLA. So in the budget, you've got that table there that shows in 2026, we budgeted an extra $4,600, for example, for the state's attorney. That would have been a 2.9% COLA adjustment. In this resolution, however, they are held at current 2025 amounts. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, except for the county auditor.
So that's a little bit clearer, but so what you're saying is they're going to take, they will take their 2025, where they're at now, and add a 2.9 COLA rate to that? No?
If you approve this resolution, their wages are what they were for 2025.
Isn't
If
that
you
what
would
I
like
said?
to add, well, if you'd like to add in the 2.9% COLA, we have to change this resolution. The numbers will have to change.
Okay, so I misunderstood that.
Misunderstood too.
So the increases for 24 to 25 are sticking for 25 to 26.
They're being held except for the county auditor.
Okay, so no one's getting the COLA, no one's getting,
It has been budgeted, but it is not in this resolution for approval right now.
thank you.
I'm gonna make a quick comment here, because I looked at some of the surrounding, like Minnehaha County that you guys proposed, and some of them were high compared to Minnehaha County, but some of them were way low. Like, I think the sheriff was way low, and I think the state's attorney was way low. The one thing that I've never had a problem paying anything, and I don't think the taxpayers have a problem paying anything, as long as they're being held accountable and doing their job and doing a good job. So that's something that we keep in mind going forward, because the only tool that the commission has is a funding mechanism. The people got the opportunity to vote, but don't always see what's going on behind the scenes or whatever. So just going forward, I think that the commission needs to, use that tool in the future to hold people accountable for how their operations are operating. That's the only way we can do it, just like we get held accountable. We're a board, basically. We're here for a period of time. And if we want to continue to have good people into the future, I don't have any problem with that, as long as we hold them accountable for what they do. And I don't think the taxpayers have any problem with that, as long as they're being held accountable for those positions also.
Chair.
So, Commissioner Hadcock.
So thank you, Jordan, for clarifying that. I appreciate that. The main thing is, if we're holding people accountable, then we have to do wage scales that aren't done by department heads to hold them accountable, so the public knows those increases. Never have a problem with paying people what they're worth. Never have. It's how it was done and how those increases came about. That's why I was in disagreement if we were going to add more. So if we're not, thank you for clarifying that, Jordan. I think it should be held there, because back in a couple of years ago, if you look at those increases, they were pretty high. And the taxpayers, to be accountable, Ron, needed to know that at the time. And we learned that from the library when that came up. A lot of people don't know what people are paid. They can look, by the way, January 1st or even now, what everybody's paid in Pennington County, because it's very transparent. But back then, when we did the wage scale, we did some of that stuff, and that 27% was way over the top and put us in a deficit. It wasn't accountable, and it wasn't for the people of Pennington County that were paying those wages the right to know what was happening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want for the public to know that Pennington County has their wages for every person in this county on the website. Yep. Within a moment's click, you can figure out what a person is getting paid. It's transparent. I think today is a very good testimony to the fruits of the labor that we've put in over the last year. That have been a lot of elbow grease from Commissioner Durr and the manager, Jordan Nebb, and now we have this all at our fingertips now. Where in the past we didn't have a lot of this at our fingertips. This is a testimony for the fruits of our labor, that we can bring this forward and we have this available to make good decisions. So with that, I'll look for a...
Chair?
Yes.
I still have some comments. I know.
Go right ahead.
So, Sandy and Jordan, maybe this is a question for Jordan, because this is a little confusing via the resolution and the other information in there. So if we budgeted the COLA for the or the COLA cost of living for elected officials, why was not that incorporated in the resolution?
I didn't make the resolution, so I'm not entirely sure. I think that would be...
Commissioner, or Director Bancroft is the one that actually put together the elected official wage resolution, and I have not spoken to her. I have not had the opportunity to speak with her about this morning.
All right.
Did you want to continue this item so to study it further, or
No.
you're good with it? Okay, we're good with it. I think Commissioner Hadcock's
Chair.
good with it. Commissioner Drews.
I do think the resolution should be adjusted to allow for the 2.9% for the elected officials. And I agree with where the auditor is recommended to be at the 112. But I think the others should be entitled to the 2.9%, just like the rest of the employees of the county.
Commissioner Hadcock.
I'm going to move to approve the resolution 26-1 regarding 2026 elected official salary effective February 1st, 2026.
A motion, do we have a second? That's, you're approving this resolution as written? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I'll
with
second.
112.
I'll second
and-
that motion then.
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second. So we're going to vote. Does everybody understands what this resolution is? That's right here. That's written, the way it's written, correct? Okay. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Commissioner Drews.
I'd offer a substitute motion to that.
Okay.
To adjust the resolution to provide the 2.9% cost of living for the elected officials, and leaving the auditor at the suggested rate of the $112,000.
Second.
We have a A motion and a second. So we're going to vote on that motion.
Chair,
Yes.
discussion.
Yep, you bet. This is for discussion, you bet.
So again, adding 2.9%, I'd like to see how much that was for a jump in the last 2 years for these elected officials. And I think the public, for full discretion, before we agree on this, how much that was. So I think the public, if they did know, and you added a 2.9% to that, again, these wage scales were done by department heads, and now we're adding another 2.9% to that. I believe, again, accountability, transparency, and that if they knew how much that increase was, and it wasn't known to the public the last year and will be now, I think we should make sure this is well published. Thank you.
So let's take a roll call vote. Do we have, Kara's not here anymore, right? Oh, she is over there, right?
Skid's here.
I couldn't see you over the corner. I'm sorry, Kara. Let's take a roll call vote. So,
On the substitute motion.
so pardon?
Which motion are you doing?
Well, on Gary's motion with the 2 points, this would be this with a 2.9% COLA. Is that correct, Jordan?
That is correct. Yeah, his motion was to adjust the resolution to provide a 2.9% COLA for elected officials, except for the auditor, who remains at the suggested rate of $112,000.
Thank you.
Can we know that number before we vote on it? Because it needs to also be put in the budgets for everybody once this is in there, since it's not budgeted at this time.
It is budgeted.
It is budgeted.
I thought you said the 2.9 wasn't budgeted.
The 2.9% was budgeted. It was not included in the resolution language. I have a table right here. I can read off some numbers if you'd like to see that it's in our diligent packet, and I believe Kenner provided you a table real quick. It would be an increase, of course. The 2.9% would be a $4,600 increase for the state's attorney's salary, up to a total annual salary of $162,900. It would be the same for the sheriff. The auditor, of course, would be set to $112,000, which is a decrease, technically, of that $22,000 that I had mentioned. The treasurer would be an increase of $3,800, which would set them up to $135,776. The ROD would be increased by about $3,200. That's an increase that would bring them up to $114,878 annually. And then the commissioners will be handled separately. I have another note for them, but that's not part of this motion.
So, Chair.
Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
So some of that is about, in the last 2 years, one is at least, I know, is at least 40,000 increase in the last 2 years. Some of those are 25,000, some of those are 30,000 in 2 years. Who gets those kind of wages and who gets those kind of raises? I'm not in favor of this. I think you ought to pay, again, people what they're worth and what they're accountable for. At this time, I think their wages were raised good enough to be those comparables that and market analysis what they did, and now you're going to give people some pretty huge raises on the backs of the taxpayers. Thank you.
Chair.
Commissioner Durr.
Yeah, I'm just going to read off the current salary in Minnehaha County for state's attorney is $205,899, sheriff $211,494, auditor $125,424.
100 for auditor.
Auditor $125,424, treasurer $133,848, register deeds $117. And that information's been added in the packet. But outside of the wage study, which I concur with Commissioner Adcock, I don't like the way the wage study was done, but the elected officials' wages are set separate from the wage study by the commission every year. And so there is a resolution, and it's a statutory requirement that we set those every year. We had, I believe last year, the state's attorney came forward and was asking for about, I believe anyway, maybe a number of about maybe 20,000 more than what is currently in here, and then we settled on this number. And so we gave the employees over a 4% pay increase in the budget. Even based off the wage scale that's been mentioned, we gave them a 4% increase on top of those adopted wage scales. And so I think 2.9 to the elected officials is fair.
Chair.
Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
So the issue is, when you see higher numbers from Minnehaha County, look what the population is. Number two, the time of service of those people. Some of them people been in there 27 years and they're making two something. You have people that just started that you put at 162. So let's be fair. Let's be straight up about how we're giving raises and how we do raises. That's how we do them at Pennington County, by time of service and different stuff, not time of service pay. How long you've been here. So some of those people got raises and they're at 200 and something compared to Minnehaha because of population and because how long they've been in that sheriff's position or otherwise. Not that they worked at the sheriff's office that long, but they were in that position. So that's why those wages are different than what they were before. And again, if they were high already, why would you add more to it? Again, pay people for how long they've been there and do everything you do like you do for employees here. But that's not happening, and it didn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. When you read those off, and the only one that stands out is the treasurer's office. They're equal to the Minnehaha. All the other ones are about. How much farther ahead? 30-40%. Anyway, so I guess would it be fair to say, Jordan, that when we voted on the budget, we voted to do this in 2026 in the budget?
I won't speak for the board, but that is typically the intention, is if you're allowing for a budget amount, you're
part of the
essentially.
confusion here is when this proposal comes forward, that it wasn't proposed that way. So that's what confused me.
Understood. And if I can make one.
I think in the future, if we make sure that that we have this lined out, so it would create a lot less confusion.
Yes.
So.
And if I could make one point of clarification as well, just to make sure, because when Commissioner Durr was speaking, he said that this is something we do annually. It's not necessarily annually. That's out of convenience that Pennington County sets this when they set everyone else's wages. The resolution can be set at any point to change an elected official's
my
wage,
point
but it
was
can't
is
just be reduced.
This was set up in the budget that we voted on. We knew where this was going to be at the time, but coming forward is what confused me on it, was like, what are we doing here? But so the reality is we're just budgeting in the COLA raise.
Correct. And Mr.
Budgeted
Chair.
for, okay.
Yeah, and the other, it's less of a budget impact because of the change in the auditor's position.
Okay, perfect, okay. I just want to make sure I had a thorough understanding of it because it was really getting me confused. So I guess we're ready for a roll call vote unless we have other concerns. Okay, so Kara, I know you're over there, so.
I know, my mic doesn't work. So.
Thank you.
Durr,
Aye.
Drews,
Aye.
Babcock,
No.
Roskinek,
Aye.
and Wydenbach.
Aye. Motion carries. So we'll move on to the next item. Okay.
The next item that we have on the agenda is for the drug-free workplace resolution. This is also something that we update every year. We're just looking for a signature so that we can update our drug-free workplace resolution. And then we have our employees read through it and sign a form so that we can maintain a drug-free workplace every year.
Okay, and this is,
Mr. Chair.
yes, Commissioner Drews.
So has this changed from last year? Is this a different language from,
It is a little bit different, but not significantly.
do you know what is different on it?
Again, Director Bancroft is the one that actually put this together. I did not get a chance to compare it to the original one, but it's not significantly different.
It's not significantly different, or it's not different at all.
If there is any difference, it's probably very minimal, possibly in grammar, but
If the board would like to just continue this to the next meeting, I think I've also got some recommended updates maybe we could do to this resolution.
I'm good with that then, and maybe.
I'll give my motion, Mr. Chair, to continue to the next meeting.
We have a motion and a second, so any other discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we're going to continue that item. Thank you, Sandy. And we understand. So people that don't understand in the audience, our Human Resources lady, Carol Bancroft, has formally given her retirement, right? So she will be here till the end of January. She had some major changes in her personal life that opted her into a retirement opportunity. So we'll be searching for a new Human Resources person to fill that gap. We are probably looking at restructuring some items throughout the county, so at that time we'll further explore those options. So, the next one would go to is Board of Commissioners Code of Conduct update?
Actually, Chair, if I would recommend, you're close to the Board of Adjustment hearings at 10:30. It is now 10:22. If you guys would like to take a short break.
Yeah.
Till 10:30, so
We'll take
planning
a
can
short
get
break,
set up.
and then we'll come back. Okay, we're gonna look for a motion to go into the Board of Adjustments.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second going to the Board of Adjustments. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Motion carries. That's down my. We're gonna make some seating arrangement changes after, next week.
Good morning, Commissioners. Agenda item number A, variance COVA 25-0021. Christine Phillip, Assistant Planner, sorry. The applicant owners are Dean and Shireen Haas. They are here in the audience if you have questions for them. The size of the property is 4.25 acres on 13514 Earl Court. It is a rural residential district and there is no flood hazard on the property. When staff considers a variance, we take a two-prong approach. These are listed on the board, or on the screen. The request was routed for interdepartmental review. There were no objections or concerns received. The applicants are requesting to reduce the required setback to the north property line from 25 feet to 8 feet. No special condition exists that would prevent the detached garage from being constructed to meet the 25-foot setback. Literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance will not result in any unnecessary hardship. Approval will be solely for the convenience, as there are alternative locations on the property to build the proposed structure and meet setbacks. On October 7th of 2025, the Board of Commissioners approved the appeal of the Planning Director's decision to allow the applicants to apply for a setback variance on the subject property. At that time, the staff recommended denial of the appeal to allow the setback variance on the subject property, as there are no special conditions that exist on the property to warrant the variance. Staff has received phone calls and one email was submitted from the public for this request. The letter is attached in the packet. Staff recommends denial of variance COVA 25-0021, as there are no special conditions on the subject property that would support approval. However, if the Board of Adjustment disagrees and approves the request, staff recommends 3 conditions be included. That the variance applies only to the proposed 32 by 32 detached garage, that the applicant obtains a building permit for the proposed garage, and that the applicant provides a survey to the Planning Department for the proposed garage setbacks on the north property line.
Thank you. So, do we have any comments from the applicant on this item?
Yes, they would like to come up.
Oh, they're here. Here they come. Okay. If you just want to identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Dean Haas. My wife Shireen is right here, and Sam Brewer is the person that we have had do some site work.
Okay.
Sam Brewer has done site work to be able to pour concrete.
Okay.
Well, he's preparing it to do the eventual concrete. Evidently, the person has written the letter has some. I read the letter this morning. Not a lot of it made sense to me, but where we are putting it literally is what we believe the best place to be able to put this garage as far as location. The rest of it, yeah, we have 4.25 acres. There's no doubt about that. We have a lot of trees, and you can't see in the pictures, but there's a nice ravine going through there, okay, that would cause a lot of dirt work. There's one other place we could put this garage, as far as, and I think Sam would agree.
Yes.
And it is where the current location is up right now, which is located by 2 other garages. And the letter said one of the reasons we wanted it was to have access to all 3 garages. Well, I think everyone would like to have access to all 3 garages. If we brought it 25 feet in from the property line, we would cut off half of an existing garage. So half of the garage, you couldn't back a boat in there or anything. We could put it up in that really, where there's no trees up there. No, to the left, right in there, which would be closer to their driveway, and they would have complete view of it, their house. She says she doesn't want to see more than one building. I'm sorry, where the building is, we have it located now, you won't see from the road. You can't see from their house. It's a logical location. Any questions?
Commission?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek, you have the floor, sir.
I've read the letter, and I think the lady has some valid concerns.
Okay.
We do the setback because that's just the practice, and everybody abides by that. Exceptions would be when you run into some extreme circumstances, physical circumstances related to the property, such as topography. I can't build in this location because it's steep, and I'm looking at something that looks relatively flat, and that's my concern. Before I could vote on this, I would personally like to come out and look at the property, and then I could come back and tell the commissioners what I saw. I mean, that's just I think that's where I'd be more than happy to do that,
The
because right
person that
now
wrote
it's,
the letter, they bought their house in 2020. I've lived out there since 2016. I've been the road district secretary treasurer every year. I've been the president of the homeowners association. These people haven't made it to one meeting. We saw this lady one time out there, and it's when she parked in our driveway during the blizzard, and we said, great, do you need a ride home? So I don't know what she's gonna plant some trees that might fall, you know.
Which they planted trees 2 years ago and never watered one of them, so they all died. So,
And we're gonna have windstorms. This last windstorm was quite interesting out there.
Here.
And they did have one fall on our property. They haven't touched it. I'm the one that cleaned it up.
Okay.
So anyway, I'd love to have you come out.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So what happens in this area is they're very picky. Out of all the areas I've ever been in, they are probably the pickiest area I've ever had to deal with, and I'm good with that to a certain extent, because we just had a issue out there with the Highway 16 and remember that campground.
Yeah.
They've also had issues with vacation home rentals. They also had issues with, like you guys, with
Yeah.
setbacks.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sir, everybody else had to comply with those setbacks in those areas in that district for that reason, because you don't have one complaint, you actually have four.
Oh, there is,
And
okay.
if there's a way that you could put that garage somewhere else where at least that setback's a little bit further than that,
12 feet.
they stayed
Okay.
12 feet off.
We
okay.
went 12
And
foot.
4 complaints, who are the other ones from?
And phone calls from, and then I'm in agreement with Commissioner Roskinek. We probably need to go out there and look at it.
Sure.
If we want to continue that, Mr. Roskinek, that would be probably a good thing, so we could go look at it.
That would be great.
But yeah, we were told, or Dean was told and his wife, that we could do the dirt work, set it up, and pour the concrete.
Just can't
I've
go wrong.
got all the dirt work done. The forms are set. We went monolithic footings. We went 4-foot holes every 6 foot, and you can't really see it from where it's at right now.
The main thing is you have other garages already, so you know what I mean? So that's not really a hardship in a sense. It's not. But I would like to come out and see it as well, so thank you.
You guys are welcome to come out anytime.
So I'm just gonna chime in here real quick. So you've already done a dirt work?
Yes.
Site work, yeah.
Well, you said someone approved that, and someone in our county approved it?
As long as we had done
Megan, who's no longer here.
Could you please speak into the mics?
Yeah, I can't hear you, honey.
you don't go up.
Go into the mic, ma'am.
Speak into the mics.
Speak, there you
Yeah,
go, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
When we were here before, they said as long as you don't go up, you can start doing dirt work. So we've done dirt work, and that's it. I mean, we haven't poured any concrete, we haven't went
Oh, okay.
up. It's just the place where we want the garage to be. So it isn't that, I mean, there's nothing there, it's just where we want the garage to be. And you guys will see, once you come out to our house, it's the only place that actually makes sense, that wouldn't affect the look of the whole neighborhood.
So when's the next meeting, Jordan?
January 20th is our next meeting.
Can we have a continuance on this item till January 20th, please?
Have a motion
Second?
and a second. We have a motion and a second to continue to January 20th. I won't be able to make it up there, so I'll be relying on some of my, my colleagues, but they have a 25-foot setback for a reason, so going to 8-foot would be really,
Mr. Chair,
that would have to be a
I
rule.
would like this, somebody from planning and zoning, so what they've done so far, would that be permissible without a building permit? That's my question.
So when do you guys want to set up time?
She's got a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They did not have the permission to build yet, but if they choose to do the dirt work, they can do that because it does not require a building permit.
Okay, that was
Built
my
up at
question,
all,
just to
then
make sure
yes.
that we haven't done anything that would violate county.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll try to set up a meeting with planning and zoning, we'll go out together, and we'll look at it.
That'd be perfect.
Okay.
Will you, Christine, will you call us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for your time.
There's probably a really, I would say there's going to be a real low propensity that this would change anything if unless there's some real tough terrain there, so just, okay.
Yeah.
And so we have a motion on the floor for continuance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the only Board of Adjustment item we had?
Second.
We have a motion to come out of the Board of Adjustments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll, hi, Brittany. Miss Brittany,
I'm not on anything.
you're on item number 14. I ordered myself a new computer because this one keeps going dead and I have to go back to where it was. So, yeah, Board of Commissioners bylaws and rules and procedures. Okay, yep. So 14A, so this goes to Jordan. We'll let Jordan, I think, James, you have an item on here, and I think, you know, I let you expand a little bit last time, I'll let you expand a little bit today, and I think Jordan's gonna work with you on narrowing down how we do that on an item, so if you're comfortable with that. But going forward, we'll do this today, however he planned on doing it, so we didn't come here and get misdirected. So, Jordan, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, so per Article 8, as I kind of say here publicly, is of the current bylaws and rules of procedure that were last approved on January 2nd of 2024, the board is to conduct an annual review of the document in January of each year. That doesn't necessarily have to be the first meeting, but we had it ready, so I figured we'd at least start to talk about this. But in my review, I found that there were so many significant changes to this document that I'm proposing that this just be looked at. I will walk through my memo of what I've identified as significant changes, and then I would recommend that we not act on it today so that the commission has time to sit with this and decide whether or not, because this will be your rules of procedure moving forward. And I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to review why I've suggested, I should say, I've proposed changes to the rules of procedure. Mostly what we've been trying to do just throughout the county, in the commission office specifically, is to try to modernize everything, which means if we're starting to create documents that are being overly bureaucratic, where they're just a little bit too extensive, they're a little too prescriptive, we're trying to strip back what we can to say, okay, so what do we need to know as a board? What is an appropriate rule without being restrictive to future boards? And so to try to streamline this stuff, specifically with the rules of procedure, we ended up with almost a 17-page document that I think we can pare down to the bare essentials of what we need, just 3 to 4 pages. And so if you guys would indulge me, I will walk through my memo really quickly here, just to kind of touch.
Just a second.
Commissioner, Commission Manager Jordan, Commissioner
So
Adcock.
can you highlight on these papers when you give it, if we have it given back?
It is going to be entirely red if you want me to redline what's changed, because every.
Well, you're
is
going to give it
being-
to us next time. So
Yes.
instead of redlining it now, I think you should.
Oh, okay. From what we're talking about now to
Where,
when
what
we
you
approve it.
replaced
Yes.
it with, that would be
Understood.
nice, kind of like we're doing for planning or
Yes.
the other departments. They're kind of taking out what's not going to be there
Yep.
and what's going to be there for the future for
Absolutely.
that area. That would be less time for us to to figure out where that went and why you did that kind of thing than
Yep, I
just
tried
read the
to-
whole thing and then put it through there.
Yes, I understand.
Go ahead with
Thank you,
you're going to
Jordan.
give us a overall.
Yep, I'm going to give you a quick rundown as fast as I can, kind of speeding through this memo a little bit because I know we don't need to take too much time on this, and then I'll answer any questions you guys may have. And so, as I said, that Article 8 is the one that required us to do an annual review. I do believe that that's valuable, but I don't know that that has to remain as a requirement. It could just be this ends up on our schedule every January that we review it every year and just say, well, how are we looking with this stuff? So what I had to do when I reviewed the document is I looked at it because it says it's a bylaw, and I asked myself, well, wait a minute, why does the Board of Commissioners, which are controlled by statute, have bylaws? That's mostly for subcommittees, other boards, other smaller groups that may not have their powers spelled out in law. Their powers are usually attributed from a bigger body like the Board of Commissioners creating an extension advisory board, for example. They have bylaws because their power, their authority is set by a different body, not specifically state law. And so the way I saw this is that it was a combination of several different types of document. You had stuff in your current bylaws that belonged in the Code of Conduct. You had stuff that was in the current bylaws that belonged in just really a County 101, here's how to be a Board of Commissioners primer, something that was just a referential document saying here's what your state laws are for your position. And as it turns out, SD Counties does a really good job of putting out the Commissioner Handbook. And most of that stuff, all of the requisite laws are just found in there. So duplicating them in a document that we then have to update anytime those laws update just adds a little bit more administrative burden. And so to kind of really streamline some of this stuff, what I felt that we should focus on is the rules of procedure, which is this is what the appropriate document for this would be. And what we basically spell out there is how meetings are conducted, how the board makes their decisions, and how you organize any internal workflows of the board itself. And so we're going to be moving some things around. Some sections are going to be put in different places, and some stuff is going to be struck just because it's overly restrictive. But as I go right into this, the key issues that we found is that there's the duplication of statute and policy, like I just said, and then anytime one changes, you have to spend the time to change the other. And so they mentioned Robert's Rules of Order, and then at one point, the bylaws, luckily not this one, had mentioned a specific edition of Robert's Rules of Orders when we're really just going to be maintaining Robert's Rules as our parliamentary procedure in general, the most recent version of it. And so there was also the blending of the incompatible functions that I had mentioned, where it's combining procedural rules, ethical standards, behavioral expectations, all that stuff. And then the one issue that I wanted to present to the public and to the board here is that in the current bylaws right now, there was a concentration of a lot more authority in the chair position than is allowed by statute. I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong. I just wanted to call attention to that because is this board still comfortable in having any one of the five given more authority than provided by statute of the others? Because right now, as statute reads, the chair's real sole focus and duty is to administer the meetings, make sure that we're adhering to proper decorum, and signing anything that the board authorizes them to sign, and taking any other action as authorized by the board. The power is with the board, not an individual. And so what I tried to do kind of was strip a little bit of that back so that the board itself, as a body, has more authority than any individual person. And then as we look at some of the other issues I'd found is that there was a little bit of confusion between administrative and governance roles within the document, just the way that it was the way that it read mostly. We had a lot of really specific things spelled out about agendas and how agendas would be prepared, how things get on agendas. We have separate policy documents that address that, separate administrative documents essentially that follow a specific procedure. And so again, if we're putting these things in multiple places, we really need a solid crosstalk to say, oh, I have to update it now here, I now have to update it over here. And so just to try to make sure that we're only really saying it one time, and if we have to, we just reference people to the other document. We just say that, hey, you go here if you want to figure out kind of what we're doing with some of our other policies. And I do plan on presenting a few of those policy updates in the next 2 or 3 meetings so that we're feeling very clear and confident moving forward for 2026 as to how things get on the agenda and what our new requirements are going to be, which the new requirements are really just going to be a reassertion of our current requirements. We just sometimes get a little bit lax on documentation and making sure that we've got enough information for thoughtful consideration of the board as a body. So here's a really quick break down a table of the current articles in the existing bylaws, what they're about, and what happens to it. I don't think I have to go through every one of these unless you guys want me to. It's spelled out here pretty clearly that, okay, yeah, for a board of organization, what the subject matter is, it's the authority, the powers, the composition, the quorum, all that stuff. Most of that is in statute, and so we're recommending that it gets stripped down and the statutory detail will be moved to that reference document, which is...
It's Jordan, I just want to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yes.
I get all this, and I appreciate all the fruits of the labor that's happening here. I think this is more reflective on how this commission will move forward. I guess in having all this conversation to give these commissioners an opportunity to think this through, how do you want to receive the input from this? Do you want us to email you on our input on these things, and then we could bring them together as a whole at a meeting?
I will defer to what the board wants to do there. There are two ways we can proceed. Okay. So either you guys could think of something and in a public meeting try to come to a consensus as a board, and that's one way to handle it. Or if you would prefer, individually, send me your comments, then we'll bring it back for public discussion. I will make sure that I contextualize everything that everyone has said, saying, here are some other thoughts, here's some other things that we could do to change. And then we'll probably not approve this then at the January 20th meeting. It'll probably be one more after that, which is fine, because if we're doing a significant overhaul of this nature, we really want to give it a lot of time,
right? And I think
so that we get it right.
I just don't want to leave you in limbo with information from us, because obviously it's going to take information from us. If we email that to you by a specific date, by what date would you be able to get, not January 20th meeting, but the February meeting, to be able to condense it so we could have a public meeting on it, and so people knew, then we could condense those things down, and then we could have a discussion as a whole commission on what makes sense to how we're going to do this, because I don't want you to be in limbo thinking that,
absolutely,
waiting for us to answer. Just we draw a line in the sand. If somebody doesn't answer, doesn't send anything in, then obviously they didn't have anything to discuss with you.
Gotcha. As I look at the calendar right now, it looks like our first meeting in February is going to be February 3rd. And so I would ask that the previous Monday, January 26th, if you guys wanted to email me or let me know any of your comments. And you're also, if you want me to, I can put it on the January 20th meeting for a discussion with the body, but you may not have to do anything at that meeting.
Let's do that. Let's put it on there. So just to keep, we keep the public intact. And but if you don't mind, James, is this what you wanted to visit about? Because there might be something relevant to how we move forward. So I'm going to let him talk, if that's okay with you, Jordan. Then I'll let you proceed again.
Yes, and this is exactly what I wanted to talk about.
If you could just give your names.
James Bialotta, candidate for U.S. House. So this is exactly some of the things I wanted to talk about after earlier meetings this year. Commissioner Durr mentioned specific bylaws that prohibited him from doing things which appear to be repugnant to the U.S. Constitution. So that being said, they were also prohibiting members of the public. A commissioner, just like everybody else, still maintains your First Amendment rights. And if a commissioner wants to call out another commissioner for how they voted, that's their God-given right to name names and say the act they did, as long as what they're saying is not false and they're not criminally threatening them. They can say what they like, and that goes to the public as well. And so hamstringing yourselves and the public is unconstitutional, and I applaud efforts to remove some of these, and I just want to make sure that going forward that we make sure that it's also following the Constitution. And I'd love the public to see the proposed bylaws before the next meeting too, if it's possible.
They're in there right now, Mr. Sorry. Yeah.
Fantastic. Because I think the public should be able to provide as much input on this as possible. Following the rule of law and the Constitution, I think, is paramount to how a government body should work. That's it.
I appreciate the input. So, Commissioner Durr, did you have something to say?
Yes, sir. So going back, this document, we saw it first last year in January when it came on, and I had questions about it because I thought it was over restrictive, and it was actually contrary to, some of the state law regarding procedural matters. And so I recall, I had a conversation at that time with the commission manager, and I do know that this was originally adopted from Minnehaha County, so it was kind of a copy and a paste from Minnehaha County, changing, some of the language in there. And what came about from reading that original document that is still current, if you recall last year, and it would have been in January of last year, that we sent this off for legal review. And so part of these changes come from outside legal, internal legal, looking at it to make sure there's no conflict and that we're operating appropriately. And so anyway, I believe this incorporates some of the changes, specifically stripping out, getting into the code of conduct and how some of those complaints and matters are handled and stripped out. So there's a year-long basis of outside legal, internal legal, and then the commission director kind of working with both of those recommendations to come down to something that is pared down. Because again, I don't believe, and I believe I said this last year, that it should be called bylaws. We're operating under state statute, so. I appreciate the effort.
No, I appreciate those comments, and I've read these, and I agree that there's, one thing that's important is that we all must know is that we operate as a commission as a whole. So no one person here has any more authority than anybody else. That's important to know. Just need someone to direct the traffic on the meetings, and being too restrictive in eliminating what commissioner may be available to do by law doesn't make sense. I mean, that's where we get into all these duplicating things, and then all of a sudden you get conflicts and you cause problems with the constituents, you may cause problems with the commission. So, Jordan, if you want to finish, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to be, okay.
Absolutely. And so what I think I'll propose to do right now is, just because it does get a little bit convoluted, I think we can, unless commissioners have specific comments or requests right now on the rules of procedure that I'm proposing, I think now we can move to the other one, which is very, very similar, but it's specifically the code of conduct.
Do the commissioners have any questions on that particular item?
And is the board okay with the proposed method moving forward of, we'll put this back on the agenda for the 20th, and then by January 26th, I'm hoping to have any individual comments that we want to try to revise and fix these things for the first meeting in February for final approval. Does that sound good to everybody?
That sounds
and
good
generally?
to me.
Okay. All right.
You can move on to the next item. There's nothing necessary here other than that.
Correct. Yep.
We want to
These are-
keep it,
these
and
are
obviously we want to keep it transparent to the public, so they know what's going on.
Yep, and so as to Commissioner Durr's point, for item now, we're on, 14B, we also are conducting an update of the Code of Conduct. Now, this is not required by the Code of Conduct itself or any other specific document. This was requested by the board, and it was sent to the state's attorney's office for review. They did come up with a review, and they tried to incorporate a little bit more that gave some more protections. And personally, and I'm still working with the state's attorney's office on all this stuff, so I made my own draft based on it because I felt personally that it was starting to get a little bit too prescriptive, that we were setting up a very strict process to handle certain things when we may want to give a little bit more latitude to the board. And so that was, and again, I will have a more detailed analysis on that once I've had some time to really sit down with the state attorney's office and review what I'm proposing versus what they had recommended. But they did prepare a draft for the Code of Conduct update back in October, and then we've had a little bit of time to kind of look through that. I believe that was submitted to individual board members, but not the public yet, and so now it is finally being presented public here, in that this is a proposed draft, and here are some of the changes why. I do have a memo on this as well, but it basically is going to say similar things to the rules of procedure update, that essentially it's time to do an update on this because this document actually dates back to 2014 when it was created. It has not been updated since then. I believe it has been reviewed once or twice, but no formal updates were made at that time. And so I think this is still the original document from 2014 when they decided to set a code of conduct. And so the notable changes that that I'm proposing here, just in general more, is, as I had stated, and I won't go directly word for word into this memo or into the code of conduct, it's that I wanted to give a little bit more latitude to the board to handle situations as they deem appropriate. In that you may not have to go to a full, tribunal or something where you have to have an official policy set up there. Someone now, because they've filed a complaint against the code of conduct, is required to receive the specific treatment if it doesn't make sense, if that treatment is not warranted. If a member of the public issues a code of conduct violation against, say, a public official, not the county commissioners can decide this is how we'd like to handle this in this case. It can be case by case, but we will still have guidelines to say this is how we normally handle these things, and these are the rights and expectations of people without getting overly prescriptive, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to strike a very fine balance here between spelling out enough that protects the organization, protects the public, and protects our public officials without spelling out every single scenario and having a 90-page document where it's not really going to be necessary or helpful. So that's kind of where I'm at here, and if the board is okay with that, I can probably just skip past some of this stuff, let you guys take the time to review it on your own.
We'll review it in the same order.
Same order?
I would tell the commission to get this information to Jordan, because if he doesn't have it and then you want to start changing things at the last minute, other than something coming up, I can't stop you from doing that, but I think that would help us get a better handle on it, so if we do that, so I appreciate it. Commissioner Adcock has a comment or question, so.
So Chair, on the code of conduct, I think there should be some type of investigation because of what happened to me on my code of conduct.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't warranted with an investigation, and if it all would have came out, it wouldn't have warranted a code of conduct on me, sir. So
sure.
I think things need to change a little bit different. Just because of what happened, there was some conflict of interest by a commissioner that was never brought out on that code of conduct, and there was no investigation. It was 3-2 vote. For people to be able to do whatever they wanted to a commissioner without investigation or fact being presented to the public. So at this point, if we could do something different, so at least that fact and that information is put out to the public in a way that they know what happened and the full extent of what happened in that one. I think if it was brought out, would have never happened and did not have the warrant for a code of conduct, not just because it was me, because other people were treated differently on this commission than I was on that, from that code of conduct when they had code of conduct issues. So anything we can do different so everybody is treated the same on this commission, and that if there's investigation or some commissioner brings up fact and it's a 3-2 vote, you have no authority at that point. So I need to know at this point that we have some type of investigation or something that warrants people to be able to give you a code of conduct. Just because 3 say it does, shouldn't be right. And if that's not fact, then that code of conduct should be able to put out to the public and should be able to comment what just happened to them. Because that was basically an open meeting violation that was set forth by me and Travis at that time, and then warranted a code of conduct on me later. So at that point, if there was investigation, like I said, there needs to be something different than what happened in that code of conduct on mine. It was very unjudicial. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinick.
So subsequent to the code of conduct violations put forward towards Commissioner Hadcock, I also had a code of conduct violation that Travis Lassiter put towards me, and the investigation worked. It was all the information was submitted to an unbiased party, and they came back with they found that there wasn't enough information to give me a code of conduct. So with that being said, I agree with Commissioner Hadcock that investigating, getting all the facts, talking to all the folks, it does work.
Okay. So, did you get that, Jordan?
I did, and if I could make a comment regarding that, because I could completely understand the entire point here. What I try to do is I try to balance as well what is, I don't want to be overly reactive, I should
Right.
say, with the way that we're drafting this stuff. And so I did see that in the state's attorney's draft, when they had proposed it, they do have a very formal investigation policy. And I support that because I agree that with an investigation, you absolutely are going to have things come to light. But if you put it in there that anyone can now file a code of conduct violation and everyone is now entitled to an investigation, you're tying up staff time, you're tying up taxpayer dollars. There may be a happy medium here that I can find as I try to think through this with you guys to make sure that we've got something that'll fit without being restrictive or prescriptive, and say that you still have the latitude to say this does not meet the smell test.
Right, I get you.
For proceeding further, where it may be a little bit more of a partly formalized process, saying that these are the roles that the commissioners will typically take as a board when pursuing these code of conducts, but not necessarily restrict you to them in every case if it just doesn't make sense at a certain
Maybe
point.
something in regards of if it gets to the point where there's going to be a possibility of, yeah, okay, Commissioner Stewart has
Chair.
something to say here, so.
Yeah. So I get both points, but I do believe, and Jordan, I would ask you, you probably have to go back and look at some of the recommended language from our outside attorney that was sent to the state's attorney's office. And there were some conversations back and forth about some of that. And one of those was to limit, basically just malicious or whatever complaints, that anybody could just throw a complaint out for any reason, and all of a sudden we're tripping a process for an investigation when the information itself, that's not the proper way to handle it. And so I believe our outside attorney was limiting the exposure to the elected officials, that you just could not have an errant complaint come forward. Because otherwise, and her point was, you're just going to get tied up in this, and there's a different process to handle that. And one of the reasons this is just coming forward now is because in the state's attorney's office, the individual who was working on this, Megan Kruger, left and went to the city, and so we're just kind of catching up on this. So, but I would like to have you look at what some of the language was from our attorney out of Sioux Falls.
All right.
Chair.
Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
Well, and also who can participate at that time, because we had, unfair bias from a state's attorney's office at that time that shouldn't have been given information for one side and not the other. We have emails accordingly to prove that. That's not hearsay. Again, on that code of conduct, when you're treated differently than everybody else and you don't have the votes, I want it to make it so it's judicial, so people can actually see what that person is doing and what they got code of conduct for if they want to put it out there themselves. Because at that time, supposedly, one of them was, and that's why the code of conduct came on Mr. Rosknecht, is because Travis wanted to speak the truth on it and was told he would be next. So that was in the record, so it wasn't made up. Bottom line is, we want to make sure that if anybody comes up, the people elect you for a reason, so they should know if there's a conduct problem or there's an issue with you that is fact. That's my bottom line. We shouldn't just be able to get 3 votes to be able to take someone and do something to them that should have never been done if we followed any kind of realistic process. People said they talked, people said some other stuff. Again, all I wanted to do was get it investigated, and at that point, they already did it. So it felt pretty rotten at that time. I don't want it to happen to someone else like it happened to me. Thank you.
I'm going to make a comment here too, because it did bring to light the fact that the position that the state's attorney's office holds when it comes to county commissioners and liability that county commissioners have, and what representation. The state's attorney's office does not represent the county commissioners, to my understanding, in a civil matter or even in these matter. And the fact of the matter was that they delved into this with one of the employees. We had the state's attorney's office delving into a censure of a commissioner with one of the employees. And when I asked that question, they said, well, we basically represent them too. And I'm like, no, this is crazy. So this represents another conversation that we need to have, is what is the state's attorney's role when it comes to us as commissioners? You know, if we're negligent in our behavior and we do something that is just fraudulent or outside of the scope of the duty, then we're going to be looking at our own personal liability there. And I want to know where that starts or where that ends when it comes to the decisions we make on a daily basis. Just because if we get a commission that's contentious that say doesn't like something I said or did or whatever, then they can get the state's attorney involved, and then I got to argue against all the citizens of the community. So it's something that I want to make sure we bring to light, and this brings this to light. So we need to maybe go down that rabbit hole a little bit so we understand as commissioners, what is our responsibilities. Maybe we need to have umbrella policies or something that protect us in certain cases, because that was, to me, by far very, I've never seen that before, typically. I mean, they usually are neutral. They stay out of the whole situation, especially if it becomes an elected body. So I think that's important to know going forward. It's important for me to know individually, and I think each one of us to know individually. But I'll let you finish, Jordan, and then, so I think we've added a little bit to it. We want to have some, I think we all probably agree that there needs to be a trigger that stops, like Commissioner Durr said, stops that from getting just frivolous stuff thrown at us versus, this could be serious, let's get an investigation.
Yes, and as I said, I do believe we can find a balance there that'll
So you may have already confronted that, but that's important. Yep. And then the other thing I want to add is at some point we need to figure out what is the state's attorney's role with the commission. Where do they lie? We did get some outside information on this particular item because we felt we needed it, so to get an unbiased position on it, so because of what had curtailed in the past. So
okay,
but I'll let you finish, Jordan.
Actually,
are you finished? Do you want to move
I
on?
think I can be done with this item unless you guys have more
Everybody
comments.
else have a question or comment or anything? Okay, so we're ready to move on to items from commission. That pretty much B, C, 26 compensation salary for county commissioners. Jordan?
Okay, much like you guys had done earlier with the elected official compensation, you set your own. Now, this is a requirement to set the commission compensation annually. If for some reason the board is unable to determine what the salary should be, it defaults to state statute for the year, which is, I believe, $7,233 per year. So I have in my memo here on this that we do establish by resolution. I've referenced both 773 through 775. That states that you set your compensation for your salary and any mileage that's allowed. Basically, it's all controlled by statute.
Can you tell us what, there it is. The
Yeah,
salary
sure.
is currently,
Yep. Okay.
How about mileage? What is mileage currently? I think that should be.
I believe we're following currently the state's formula, I think, and I don't have that rate in front
Okay,
of
well then, I mean, there's no sense of trying to reinvent the wheel if the state
Correct.
already has a policy.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Durr, you have the floor, sir.
I'm going to make a motion to set the 2026 compensation for the Pennington County Board of Commissioners at an annual salary of our current rate for 2025 with no increase.
Second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Now, I'm gonna have the same question. Did we budget a COLA increase on here or not?
We did budget a COLA for the commissioners, yes.
Okay, so this would not include that COLA?
This would not include that COLA.
Okay, everybody understands that? All right. So basically what I'm gonna do is cut a little bit out of everybody else's salary and put it towards mine. Just kidding.
As a point of conversation, I will say that there are other counties that do allow the chairperson an additional extra salary.
Well, I think if that was the case, I'd probably be making less, so I'm not gonna go down there. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So,
Okay.
okay, we'll move on to item county commissioners. We're gonna move on to ID, which is the 2026 official newspapers, which I got a lot of questions on this, Jordan, but I'll let you start and.
Sure.
So you can tell us how many we have to print into and how that's working. We had some newspapers that are actually closing, right?
That was the reason that this is not, it has been in the past, it's normally been acted on in consent agenda because you've appointed, since basically, as far as my records can show, you've appointed the same legal newspapers that every year since like 2008 or before. And so the reason this became an actual actionable item as opposed to a consent item is that we no longer have the Pennington County Courant. They actually closed up shop. Their last paper was on Christmas Day of 2025, December 25th. And so that was their very last paper. They have now shut up their operations. And so we now are left with the question of, okay, well then what are we supposed to do with legal newspaper designations? And the statute is pretty clear in 718.3 that the counties, not the city and not the school boards, have to appoint up to, or designate up to 3 if they exist within the county and they are actual legal publications within the county. Now with school boards, they only have to appoint 1. With cities, they only have to appoint 1. But for the counties, it's in statute, it has to be up to 3 if they exist within the county. During research into the South Dakota Newspaper Association, who keeps the lists of who's legal and who's official for certain places and who does legal publications, I found that there were 4, and now there are only 3 legal newspapers that do publish within Pennington County and meet the criteria of a legal newspaper for the county. And so instead of the current, now we're looking at the Hill City Prevailer News, the Rapid City Journal, and Native Sun News Today are the 3 remaining legal newspapers that publish within Pennington County. And so by law, if they've met all the criteria, they have all the supporting document, they are to be selected as our official publications, our official newspapers.
So the Pennington County Current, where was that going to?
That was based out of Wall.
Oh, and so they're done?
They are done.
Oh. Well, Hill City and Rapid City covers those areas. Wall or Box Elder would be the biggest concern, I guess.
Right.
I mean, but maybe even more Wall. What, the Native Sun News go to Wall?
I'm not sure exactly what reach the Native Sun News has. I know that most of these papers also now have an online presence, and so it's a little bit easier to be able to reach these more rural communities.
They don't regard online as an opportunity, do they? Because
they count them towards total publication numbers, but there is still a paper requirement for newspapers to meet the criteria of a legal newspaper.
well, the Native Sun News meets that criteria.
They appear to meet that, yes.
They got a good paper. I mean, and I really like the Hill City's paper too. I mean, that's really good. Jack left so I can say whatever I want. But so I guess we'll leave it up to the. I think you need a actual actionable item on this, don't you?
Yes, we actually need a motion to designate the Rapid City Journal, the Hill City Prevailer News, and the Native Sun
So
News
you're going to
Today as
recommend the Native Sun, okay?
official newspapers.
Here.
Yes, Commissioner
Move
Hadcock.
to designate the Rapid City Journal, the Hill City Prevailer News, the Native Sun News Today as 3 official newspapers for Pennington County 2026. What is that budget? Sorry.
Oh,
I
that
wrote my
budget's,
motion.
it's in like 7 different places. I'd have to,
But what's
it
the
the
total of the budget? It says 61 like last year, or is it different?
hold up, please, I will find that.
We budgeted that for 2026, correct?
Is there
If
a
we're
second
talking-
on that?
If we're talking full-up publishing costs, we have budgeted $104,000 for 2026, and that's for all of our our budget publishing, like bids for, not just commission minutes, but everything that we do in publishing is about $104,000 for 2026.
So can you send us that breakout? You don't have to do it right
Yes.
now, Jordan, but can you send us that breakout of those 3 newspapers on our email?
Absolutely.
So we have a motion.
I seconded.
Oh, second from Dirk. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we move on to item F. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Item E is the annual salary listing pursuant to SD. The board will consider the annual salary listing for county employees. Listings presented for publication in the official minutes. So we're going to publicize this in the official minutes. But we also, like I said earlier, is constantly on and updated on the website.
Yep. And if I could jump in on that one too.
Jordan, you have the floor.
Yes, this is also usually a consent agenda item. The reason it wasn't is we weren't able to follow a policy that was established in December of 2024 for 25/26. And so it was not actually put before the board in November and December of last year. So it also felt appropriate that we would wait until we had the elected officials' salaries approved before we then approve this to put those in addition to our annual salary listing into the minutes. And so that'll include all current information, the updated commissioner wages, which is now going to be the same as 2025, and any of the other elected officials in addition to our regular listing.
We've already, so we're going to publish what's correct right now. Okay. So this, to make sure that everybody understands this does not change anything. Any change we made, we approved individually as a change.
Yes.
We didn't just put it on here to make a change. This is an actual listing of all the changes we've made up until this point.
Right. And so what those changes include are the resolution you passed today for the elected officials, for the commissioners, and the 2.9% COLA that was budgeted for the regular employees. All of that has been included within the annual salary listing and will be published in the minutes.
I'm loving this, Jordan. I like the having these numbers available like this and just being able to. Okay, so
Mr.
I guess
Chair.
we'll be looking for a motion so everybody understands.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Durr?
I've got a comment on this. So this is one of the changes that we made, beginning, in January of 25, January and February, because I want to comment that this information was never on the agenda. It was historically put in the minutes, but never on the agenda. And so it's just an effort to be more transparent and put this information out there and have it on the agenda so that everybody can see it. And some of these personnel actions were never on the agenda, like our personnel change form. They are now, and they were previously never on the agenda, never discussed, never approved, but put in the minutes and published. And so I think that's a positive change that we've made to be more transparent about this.
Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Hadcock, you have the
I
floor.
agree, because when me and Travis were bringing this up for the last couple of years before then, we tried to change it, and we didn't have the votes. So I agree, it didn't need to be in December minutes, it needed to be in January, every January 1st. People couldn't find it in the minutes, it needed to be on the agenda and a consent agenda. So a lot of different changes that came about. We tried to change the way kind of like Minnehaha was doing their agenda, which worked very transparent to the public. So I'm glad that in this last year, we made a lot of changes for the public, and also for anybody that wants to see what we make. And Ron Weifenbach made a comment on that it's published every year, and it's for the public so they know what people are making instead of trying to put it in the minutes or anything else. I don't know if it was to hide or what was it to do, but it wasn't working for the public. And I'll just tell you up straight, a lot of commissioners didn't even know that it was published every year. So that tells you something. So I'm glad with Jordan Neeb and Mr. Kenner that these things are becoming more transparent and a lot easier to get a hold of or see just through our agendas. And it's made a huge difference. I don't have as many phone calls. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on.
You'll need a
to
motion.
vote.
We need a vote, right?
Make a motion to approve the annual salary listing.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and I'm going to move on to the next item. And this is a TIF application. It's basically more of a just a summary telling us for your information kind of thing and about TIFs. Today's the opening, or yesterday was opening vote for the Liberty Land TIF, so if people need to get out and vote. One of the things that this commission has had conversations with about, and we've probably gotten phone calls on, is, our stance on TIFs. We made that, we don't pick and choose winners and losers. We just have an overall stance on how we feel about TIFs and the burden that it puts on the county on whatever they're doing. We have been moving forward very diligently with getting the city to understand how we feel about that. So they've been working with us, trying to, help make us whole. So that letter, it had got some attention from the city. So we've been working on that going forward. I think we're getting some good results out of it, but do you take over on this one, Jordan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so per the policy that we're trying to start to implement here, when the city changed its code about TIFs and just in general a TIF committee, they eliminated the TIF committee that the county used to participate in, but to check the boxes, they still send this information to all the commissioners individually, as well as the planning department, I believe, and there's one other routing that it goes to. And so this is an opportunity that I wanted to make sure that the board as a body had to present a case either for or against if we've got a specific issue with any of these proposed applications, so that it can be considered by the city planning department, because they're the ones who are going to be hearing this, and it would have been before your next meeting, so it had to be on this one. I have heard from Commissioners Rosknecht and Drews that this TIF probably has a little bit of issues with it in general, and it does look like city staff is aware of that, and they've noted the concerns. Okay. And so if that's something we want to formalize in a response to this, I can put that together. But we've also, I believe the commissioners themselves have also reached out to city staff.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, Commissioner Ross.
Let's go ahead and.
Yeah, that'd be good, yeah.
First of all, I'll start with the letter that I got from Mike Dugan. It says, "Good morning, Commissioner Rosknecht. An application's been submitted for a new TIF district. The applicant owns the properties located at 715 and 721 Mount Rushmore Road. The property is currently a Phillips 66 station and was originally constructed about 70 years ago. The requested TIF proceeds will go towards the demolishing of the service station, storage buildings, and all associated concrete. The requested TIF proceeds will also go towards removal of 3 10,000-gallon fuel tanks, dispensers, and associated equipment. The applicant will also conduct the environmental studies and perform the required demolition. Lastly, the applicant's requesting the TIF funds for landscaping, lighting, architecture, engineering fees, environmental testing, and loan closing costs and title work fees. The total TIF request with interest is $1,655 and $1,655,899. The applicant then would like to develop a 21-unit apartment complex. I came back and I just said I personally cannot agree with this one. It does not follow the spirit of a TIF district, in my opinion. How many more like this request will we see going forward with regard to development of infrastructure? I question. Number one, removal of 3 10,000-gallon fuel tanks, dispensers, and associated equipment. Number two, environmental studies and remediation. Number three, landscaping and lighting. Number four, architecture and engineering fees. Number five, environmental testing. And number six, loan closing costs and title work fees. And one of the things that I see, especially on Mount Rushmore Road, I've seen a lot of properties that were residential properties or businesses such as Modrig's Travel. And people bought them and they tore everything down, and they did the same thing that this gentleman's requested, and I don't believe they were asking for money to do it. And some of this might be legitimate, but I certainly had problems with this one, and for the reasons I mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Rosknecht. Commissioner Drews, did you want to weigh in, sir?
Well, I also expressed my frustration with it, with the letter to the city individually, and simply, I agree with some of the things that Commissioner Rosknecht just made mention of, but I think part of the purchase price of the property, this is a new owner of the property, part of the purchase price, I believe, was reduced in order to, because they knew that there was going to have to be some things like the tanks removed, et cetera. And so it looks to me like the developers may be trying to take advantage at both ends on the sale price and creating a TIF at the same time. So, and I think there's a number of these things that probably don't really fit well with a TIF. Right. So,
I'll weigh in on. I see what you guys are coming from, because you all of a sudden now you buy a property, a distressed property, maybe say, you get it for a good price, and then you go to ask for a TIF to get it fixed. Well, the state has an insurance policy to remove those gas tanks. So is that going to get a double dip for that? Or is that covering the deductible to get those? When I had it for a real world experience, which we got an appraiser there that understands, you buy a property, and if it's distressed, you pay less money for it, for a simple reason, or you don't buy it. But I guess it comes into our philosophy. I like the idea of handling it individually. I think it goes a lot farther that way when people send a letter. I think I'll probably send a letter saying, you know, almost along the same lines, because they bought the property. I know people that have bought those small little hotel units, and they got them for a certain price, and they fixed them up, and they did it on their own. And they made it happen. They knew it when they bought it. But I understand how this happens, because you almost can't blame somebody for trying. Because, I mean, that seems to be a way of doing business now. I'm gonna buy this property and then get the, you know, if I'm gonna increase the value of the property, then I'm gonna get the city to give me that money back. So I appreciate your guys' input. That's good input. And I don't know if we need to formally, but I like the fact that, you know, like the commission individually sometimes has more power than the commission as a whole. But Commissioner Durr, you're moving up to your mic.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So they did solicit it to the board for comments, and I agree with, you know, both Commissioner Rosknecht and Drews. This is not appropriate. I would like to remain consistent where we have notified them. It's good that individually we're doing it, but I would like to see the comments, have some staff comments if staff has any comments on this dissent. But I would like the commission director to reach out to the additional staff impacted within the county, and then we submit one response to the city.
I'm good with that.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Hadcock?
I just might add
I got Commissioner Hadcock, and then I'll go to you.
Yep.
I like Ron with the philosophy thing. I think what's happened is they've been overused. I think they've been used for the wrong reasons. And now, I don't think this one's different. You're right, Commissioner Weifenbach, for lack of trying, because so many people have done what this man has done with this TIF that other people have done, and people have agreed to these kind of conditions or paying these kind of things besides infrastructure. We know that from the county and some of the county TIFs that have caused us a major issue on infrastructure that some people on this board have actually voted for. So it's funny how the philosophy on one person is different than the rest. Let's have the same philosophy. That's part of why we conduct business in the way we do publicly, because one person can do something and it depends politically how they are and get it done, and the other person can't. So you're right, Commissioner Rosknecht, or Weifenbach. It's philosophy. So I've been in here a long time, and I'll just say it just like I did before. It becomes political and who it is, of how these TIFs are being done, and it's unfortunate because one philosophy isn't different than the other depending on the person. So for me, this man isn't doing anything different than other people have done. Do we have to agree with it? No. I appreciate that, but let's keep that consistent. Thank you.
I agree, and I think that by Commissioner Durr's motion of having us weigh in as a commission is fair. That way it helps us keep consistent, because even if one of us votes against it, we still, you know, the chair signs it. So then that helps the consistency level. So is that a motion, Commissioner Durr?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there was a rebuttal.
Okay.
And he came back, Mike did. He said, from your list, items 3 and 6 are not listed in the South Dakota codified law as being TIF eligible project cost.
What's item 3 and 6?
3 and 6 would be landscaping and lighting. That was number 3. And 6 would be loan closing costs and title work fees. So this was yet to be vetted. If they're going to send this stuff to me and I look at it, I'm going to definitely have a response one way or another.
And I think
it's not that I
will.
totally reject it, but I just think there was items that, to me, being on that committee, that did not follow. It used to be if it was blighted, that's the only way these things could qualify, if it was blighted. And then it was expanded to some kind of an economic benefit. And so right now, it's just pretty, I don't know, if this one gets approved as is, I just see everybody on Mount Rushmore Road or any other major corridor is going to sit there and say, well, you did it for this, let's do it for me.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it if they pass it.
And me too.
So, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Durr?
Yeah, as a follow-up to that, you know, we did months ago send a letter to to the city regarding TIFs, and we felt that they were being overutilized, and we sent it collectively as a board.
Correct.
And we asked them to communicate back to us, and so I think we owe this response back to the city in a formal response from the board.
I agree with you, Commissioner Durr. I think it's a good policy to do this. Because that particular letter that we sent has gotten a lot of traction with the negotiations that I've been working with the mayor and Dan Ainsley, the finance director over there. And it was interesting because when the library opportunity came aboard, I got a call from him that very day and said, "Hey, Ron, I don't want this to affect our relationship as a city and a county." And part of that was because of the letter that we sent on the TIFs. They recognized that. He wrote a rebuttal and says, "I agree with you. There is some, we acknowledge the fact that the county needs to participate in this. They are going to bat for us with some alcohol tax and some sales tax that because the county does not receive. So when they do a TIF, the county has added pressure, and it doesn't have to be proven because the reality is if there wasn't added pressure, then the tax wouldn't exist, correct? So the tax does exist. They're giving the tax away, so the county does have a seat at the table. And I think that letter, and I think any letter going forward, will just solidify our position on it that we want to be considered. I mean, we don't have any control of whether they do it or not, but consider the fact that the pressure it puts on the services that the county provides, the jail, the health and welfare of the community, all those things. So I think if we could get a motion, I think we could probably.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm going to move to authorize staff to compile and transmit the board's comments regarding TIF application resolution 25T1020-21 as discussed to the City of Rapid City for incorporation into the TIF application review process.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. We move on to item 15, update reports from commissioners and committee reports. If we could do this as one and just go through, and if you have anything to say about an update to us, Commissioner Durr, I'll give you the floor, sir. You had no scheduled meetings, but if you had anything you wanted to just update us on.
Well, I think we combine these if we have comments, or I don't have anything like any meetings to report on.
Okay.
What I would comment on is a couple of things that, one, it's a project, and it goes back to the newspapers and the mandatory things that counties have to do. And so if you go back to a lot of these statutes, there's a lot of things in statute that are antiquated that don't fit today's needs, and the counties are mandated to pay for this. And so publishing is one of them. And so stating that you're going to have up to 3 newspapers in the county. And again, what has happened from 50 years ago, communication, social media, the web, all these other things have happened, and we're spending a lot of money in publishing, and it's not hitting the audience that would need to look at this. We didn't have websites decades ago, all this other stuff. So there's a litany of legislative things that need to change. One of them I'd mentioned a couple of meetings ago, actually probably 3 or 4 months ago, and then we had a change in staff in the state's attorney's office. But one of them goes back to, which I'm still getting calls on, the city's most recent annexation out by the airport of that section of ground. It's unplatted ground, and it's ag. And since the court ruling deemed the statute would, that says that if you're going to annex, and it doesn't say voluntarily, it says if you're going to annex unplatted ground, ag, you have to get commission approval. And so, a court case on that out of Minnehaha County, came back and said, no, if it's voluntary, you don't. And I know the County Commission Association looks at some of this stuff, and some of these statutory changes, and I know they've taken a run at some of this stuff, but I think we just kind of gearing up for next year, need to work on cleaning up statutes regarding the operation of county government, because a lot of the statutes related to that, this is one of them, there's many like this, but it's costing the counties hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in their budget annually. And if we could get some legislative cleanup on some of this stuff, and getting back to what is coming back to a big issue across the state, and that is local control, giving the authority back to the counties. And again, it's the same statute that, we discussed when we were talking wind and solar, that the PUC would have authority over, some of these property rights related to wind and solar. I've had some legislators ask and reach out and go, okay, what would you like to see in some of these proposed changes? And so I think throughout the 2026, I would like to see us focus on what we think would be a benefit to our constituents and to the county as a whole as to how we operate, and prepare those legislative changes for review and recommendation.
So, Commissioner Drew, would you see that as like a letter from us, or as the county to address some of these issues? Or either one of you guys over there on my left side, the left side over here?
Well,
on the right side, or no?
yeah, I think some of it would be, just bringing it up at a meeting and going through this and talking about some of those things. And I'm not sure to what degree the County Commission Association or the Black Hills Association. I do know over the years, we're asked to present resolutions and stuff, and there's a process to go through. The County Commission Association present, they vote on it and go forward. And I do know that, they have lobbyists to carry some of this stuff forward. It's just, getting back to the discussion on, the excise tax and getting support through the legislature. And that's one thing that West River has had a difficult time on, just based on the fact of the number of legislators and how heavy East River is. And, there's a different mindset, once you cross the river. But there's so many things in a lot of the things that the county governments are operating on go back to a 1939 legislative, and there's been tweaks here and there over the years, but it really needs, a full review, and somebody needs to take the lead on that.
Especially when you talk about the publications, they cost money. People can't, if you know what the price of the Rapid City Journal is, people can't afford it. And if it's digital, hell, you might as well just go to the website and get digital.
Yeah. No, because the paper is a good example. Look at the Rapid City Journal used to be a daily publication. They had tens of thousands of reach, and go look at their, they've changed their publication. Look at how many were subscribing to a paper, and the whole thing has changed. And this all goes back to lobbying, because they want those dollars. This is just one example. There's many, but they want those dollars because they want the advertising costs. And I do know, I believe, I think anyway, like our kind of new online newspaper that I see just printed a hard copy, the Rapid City Post. Everybody would like to get those, automatic payments coming in. And I just think those are things that we need to look at, the operation of county government. It's always talked about, and it's very hard to get a handle on, but I think it's something that specifically with the, change in the property tax and what's going to happen in the legislature and the funding issues the counties are having with all of our mandates, that, we just need to look at some of those legislative changes that would help us out financially and operationally.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Drews.
So I might just add to that a little bit. The commission, the state organization has a timeline in which to bring issues forward that they will work on our behalf, but that doesn't mean that we're ever too late.
Okay.
So that process actually ends in like August of each year. The board then determines what is the priorities, what to move forward with the next legislative session. Commissioner Ross Connect is the representative from Pennington County on that organization, and he's been very good about bringing other issues before that board previously. And I think that he can do that again at this point in time and just talk about the concerns, because Pennington County isn't the only one concerned about the publication costs, but they do have a extremely strong lobby, and they've been able to, fight us off, basically. And as you heard from Jordan's report, there are different regulations for counties as compared to cities and schools and even for the state. And so we're required to do much more in regard to that. And that all costs a lot of dollars. People don't realize how many dollars are spent and publication costs, legal publication costs each time. So I would ask that Commissioner Roskiniect, at his next meeting, which is probably going to be in April, to discuss that so that it can be something of major discussion during the summer months. But I think also Commissioner Roskiniect has a close enough connection with our lobbyists and stuff that he can make sure that they're aware of our concerns at this point in time, and that's something they can be working on during the legislative session, during other discussions and stuff with legislators.
So should we have him work with Jordan have Jordan write something up for us? So obviously, there's a couple things I want to talk about, and the alcohol tax, the sales tax, and we want to talk about some of these mandated things. So if we could maybe have Jordan write up something so Commissioner Roskiniect knows where we stand. So if we could get that information to Jordan, have him consolidated into some sort of a professional document that Commissioner Roskiniect could take to the Moonshine Saloon with the legislators.
You're giving him a lot of free
We'll
advertising.
put some money in his pocket. And,
What I
we need to
would,
get something
I like
done,
that
though.
idea, and then once we think that we've got something, then we share it with the whole commission.
Okay.
And then just make sure that we're
Would you handle
transparent.
that then with Jordan then?
Be more than happy to,
Okay,
Mr.
perfect.
Chair.
I think that makes sense. So do we have an actual action item there or no?
And Jordan, he's not here right now, but I'm sure that he'll, okay.
Oh, you just brought, this is, okay, so we'll go to Commissioner Drews then.
Okay, I did attend the Complete Health Board meeting in December. And, Complete Health does a great job dealing with a lot of the people that are somewhat county dependent, and that we also are involved with for other reasons, et cetera. But they do a great job. They've got a good staff. As you go through their budget and their expenses and so forth, I mean, it's tight. Really tight for them. I'm sure that they have same issue that any other medical center has, and that's trying to collect the sufficient amount from each patient. So, and we did reduce the amount that we're contributing to them for this next year, but they're moving along and they do a great job. I couldn't be more impressed with the group and Tim, who's the head of it.
He's stellar.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, there's no
he
doubt
is.
about it. He does a good job. So we'll move on to Commissioner Hadcock, PC Housing Redevelopment.
MPO was gone, and Pennington County Housing, we're doing looking at what market analysis, wage comparables for his wage this coming year.
That's for who?
For basically our CEO of Pennington County Housing. We had one of the ladies that actually does that.
Okay.
And works with the group,
Is that
different
Alboff
groups.
then?
Brian,
Okay.
yes. And then some of our scattered housing, we're getting rid of a lot of that. We're going to go into a RAD conversion. And again, the newspaper just asked me again today, the Meals on Wheels is telling people we're selling the building, the Memorial Park building. We are not. That's the third time I've heard it. But now the newspaper is reporting that we're going to sell it. Nope, it's called a conversion. We will still own the building. We are just having to do something different with that building in order to move forward into helping more people. So what it is the building's not being sold, so the public knows. We will still have it in Pennington County Housing. It will be moved to what's called a RAD conversion. So that rumor that keeps being told and was told today again was from the Meals on Wheels program. So I would hope that at this point, maybe Roskiniect could reach out to them and tell them all about what RAD conversion means, so they understand that we're not selling the building and they're not telling the public or the newspapers that we are. So really good group. Brian Achbach couldn't be a better leader. We have a wonderful group that gets a lot of things done, and we are going to look at some of the, kind of like we did with the Rose, converting some of these problem areas in Rapid City into affordable housing, which is true affordable housing, with what we're going to do with this conversion. That's what's happening in Memorial Park in a lot of areas that we are working on, plus adding more to that to help more people with those conversions. We have changed a lot of how our philosophy is in Pennington County Housing with this new CEO, Brian. He has a heart for people and a heart for making sure that people are doing what's right. If they're getting free housing, there's a respect and a responsibility from them as well in order for us to move forward in a positive way for Pennington County. So kudos to him and the rest of the group and his staff, and they're amazing. So thank you for what they're doing.
I'll just add in, I got to meet with Brian at one point. They're amazing. The conversion that they're doing is going to bring more real affordable housing, not just this talking point that everybody wants to use. These are actually affordable housing that they are going to bring to the community, and through their RAD conversion and Brian's vision for housing. The guy is amazing. So, but Commissioner Roskinek, you had the floor, sir.
Mr. Chair, going back to Pennington County Housing Redevelopment, yeah, I don't think they're selling the building, but I think they're not going to have fee simple ownership neither. The building or the premises will be encumbered by other ownership, and well, this is where I think things get confusing and that we need to get things sorted out.
Oh, so could I answer your question?
Yes.
They're going to add it into an LLC, which they have to legally to, and we will still own that LLC as well, but you have to put it in a certain perspective with an LLC, and then how that affects how the money is transferred and how you buy those other buildings. So Pennington County will always be sole ownership. It's just, like you already know with anything else, they're going to have them in LLCs and other things. So it won't be transferred to any other companies or any other people. It will still be, and if you want to verify that, Commissioner Roskinek, just kind of have him show you how that's done again. Being the chair, I kind of went through some of that a little bit, probably more extensive, but they will still own the property.
And I agree. I think this just exactly what you said. That's what the newspaper's got to report so that people get the full understanding. So.
And Frank's gone, so.
Well, anyhow, I'll move on to.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that was the only other committee. I did attend a Hill City Council meeting, and I appreciate Annette. She joined me on that, and we presented to the council the process that the city of Hill City would have to go through if they want a vehicle registration kiosk. I mean, they're not cheap. There's money involved. There's monthly maintenance fees. So our intention was just to explain the process, and if they want to take it to the next step, the county will help them follow that, but the state is, they're going to eventually have to work with Rosa at the state if they want to really dive into this. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Roskinek. And then for me, myself, I've been in Oklahoma for a couple of weeks, so, but I just want to thank the commission for having confidence in my ability. I know sometimes my computer goes crazy or whatever, but I enjoy being your chair, and I hope that moving forward, we're going to work on the things that we talked about, making some priorities. I think we've been, for a year, we've come a long way, so we'll have a reflection of a year. We've changed a lot of departments. We have some people that are leaving. We've got some challenges that we're going to have with human resources. We're going to have some challenges, obviously. We have a new auditor now. We have a new human resources. Our assessor's leaving. Those are things that we got to approach, and trying to have a plug-and-play operation for the next commissioners that come along, that they can take this information and have it at their fingertips with Tyler. We have a new payroll person, Taylor. I seen her this morning when I went and voted, and she's got a great positive attitude. Everybody seems to be wanting to work together to get everything accomplished. So that's all I got to say. So I think that this removes us to executive session. And when we make this motion, we're going to, make sure you discuss the reasons that we're going to executive session. And they're lined out here, and they're lined out what we can and can't talk about. I love this transparency because it's important so people know what we're doing. So, Commissioner Drew, you going to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to SDCL 125-2, subsection 1, for the purposes of discussing personnel matters.
Thank you. You have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So- Ron's waiting, all right. Okay, we need a motion to come out of executive session, please. Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we have a couple house cleaning items. One would be HR Service Director. Do we look outside for a candidate? And do we do inside for a candidate? Do we do a combination of both? And then I think during that discussion too, we need to talk about how we foresee the structure of, the county itself. I mean, I think that's a conversation we need to have too at some point, but maybe not right now. So how we'll leave that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to see it actually on the agenda as an agenda item at the next commission meeting, and then we have an organizational chart that looks at the organizational structure along with the job descriptions and the department, and we can make a decision looking at that as to how to move forward.
Okay, perfect. So do you want to, you want to continue this whole item, or do you want to make a decision right now that we look globally, or we look inside, or we do both?
I would just like to, for me, my suggestion would be we just have it on the next agenda with the job description, the org chart for the department, and then have a discussion about how to move forward.
Sometimes you got to tell me things twice before they get through my skull. So that'd be the motion?
Well, and it doesn't have to be an official motion for that if
Right.
you guys just want the consensus of the
So
board.
we can just give you
I
a
will put
direction?
it- Yep, just give me
Okay.
direction. and
Then the
we'll
other
become a
item we
public
have is we have the Shannon is retiring. He's got other pursuits he wants to take, and we have a position available there, and we need to talk about how we want to proceed with that. So I'll entertain any thought processes there.
I believe
We don't need a motion or anything?
he's on the agenda with the
Okay.
training plan and discussion.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let's just go to Shannon and go there. So, well, there's no other real direction coming out of our executive session, so. 17, we're gonna move on to item 17, and then Shannon, sir, you have the floor, items from equalization, Director of Equalization Succession Training Plan, HR memo.
Thank you. So I presented at the last commission meeting that, I've decided to retire in a few months and set up a plan for succession in the office. And I presented that to you, the commissioners. I had planned on talking about it in executive session, but we don't need to do that. I just really wanted to inform you of what that plan was and show you. And you've got it, so I'm satisfied with that. If you have any questions here or even after the meeting, I'm happy to answer them. I got that plan done and I gave it to you. My plan is to train Trevor Abernathy, one of our senior appraisers, to the point where he could fill that position at my retirement. And I would like to ask the commission to give him a pay increase for taking on the responsibility of that training. He still has to perform his job that he currently has, okay? Now, I'd like to change up something here. I asked the board in a memo to give him a pay increase to a specific step. There's been difficulties talking with Carol, for good reason, and the holiday and everything like that. I didn't see Carol's memo until it was on the agenda, and I have absolute respect for policy, so I would ask the commission to ignore my memo that I sent and request a pay increase for Trevor as stated in Carol's memo per policy. I got to look at my notes because I'm not sure I'm looking at the right paragraph there. Step 16, there we go. Thank you.
I got you.
All right, right there. Step 16, $36.51 an hour. And then that follows the policy as Carol states. So I would respectfully request that for Trevor for at least the next few months as he takes on this responsibility to train.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Shannon.
So Shannon.
Commissioner Roskinek
Thank
has a
you,
question
Mr.
for you,
Chair.
Shannon.
$36.51 an hour, and I can't remember what your memo was, but what was your request in relationship to the $36.51?
My request would have put approximately halfway between what he's currently making and what he would make at the entry level in my position, and that would have been $40.33 an hour.
I see.
Thank you, Shannon. Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
So, number one, I'd like to see if this board is moving Trevor forward before we give somebody a raise. So I don't know if that's not happening till the next meeting. Number two, I appreciate the process changing, because after watching the auditor process compared to these two, I like this process, and I appreciate that, Jordan, keeping things in executive session that should be and other things that shouldn't, and following the process for everybody the same is what I'm looking at. It doesn't seem like it's the same for each issue we have, and I believe it should be the same. If we're gonna make people speak out front about the issues and the changes, let's keep it that way. Let's not do different policies for different issues we have, or in this case, for taking over department heads. So I appreciate that. So the bottom line is, Shannon, I think we need to know if this board's moving forward on that succession with Trevor before you give him a raise to train him in where he's going, sir.
Mr. Chair, may I respond to that?
Yes, you may respond, Shannon.
A good point, absolutely. My suggestion is that he not be put into my position while I'm currently in that position. It's my expectation that this board would make a decision a couple of months from now who they're going to hire. But cross-training in an office is always a good thing, regardless. So there's nothing lost in Gordon and I working together on this plan.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek,
You know, one of the reasons I can support this, because Trevor's going to be probably have the most exposure when we start doing these assessment appeals. I mean, he's going to be our shield, and I definitely think that he's going to earn every bit of that, whatever that is, $3.26 an hour, combined with trying to be prepared to take over your position in 6 months. So that's a lot on a person's plate.
Thank you, Commissioner Roskinek. Commissioner Drews, do you have a comment?
I would agree with that. I think that the training would be excellent for Trevor, and he's a critical part of the office at the present time. And so I would support the adjustment during this period of time for the training.
Shannon, we're not going to do anything to micromanage your office or stop you from training Trevor. I think, like you said, it's always a good thing to do. So yeah. I don't think we're not going to step in there and tell you to stop doing what you're doing. So
thank you for that.
Appreciate all the notice you've given us up front. And is that a Garcia tie?
It is, yes.
Okay.
I don't like paisleys or stripes.
I don't either, but I dig that one. But my position is, I don't necessarily know. I understand. Sometimes there's a value to opportunity, and there's a value to being able to work for a guy like you. That is more than what you can put a price on. I mean, the ability that you have, I want to say, to be able to train someone else and give him your knowledge. Hell, he should be paying you. So I think there's a value that the county brings to the table by allowing that to happen and giving him an opportunity. So I don't know that I would support a pay increase. I mean, I would have to think about that more to even go down that road, but that's just my position on it. But I think Commissioner Durden wanted to chime in something there, but we don't have to make any decisions today, but we should come up with some sort of direction next meeting with how we feel it's going to go forward.
So,
Obviously- go ahead.
yeah, my comment's going to be as to how the agenda item is on the agenda, Director of Equalization, Succession Training Plan, and then an HR memo. And what I would like to see is on the next agenda, then the training deal, but actually have the wage and the step increase on there, so it's actually agended as a wage increase and what the purpose of that is, so we can vote on it with everybody having all the information.
So you're basically asking Shannon to bring something back about,
I'm asking
Jordan?
that this come back on the next agenda, specifically addressing the wage increase and what it's for, and that's an actual agenda item, not buried in a memorandum with the HR director.
okay, fine. So Jordan, you understand that? Because one of the direction we'll be taking over the next year is to make sure if we give you direction, that number one, you clearly understand it, and number two, you get it done. So Shannon's gonna be counting on you to work this through, and we're gonna expect that it's gonna be on our next agenda, okay?
It is clear,
That's
yes.
fair to everybody, but sometimes what's happened in the past is the idea gets vague and it gets, but if we give you a specific challenge, that's what we're gonna expect. So Shannon, does that make sense?
Yep, I got it.
Is that fair to you?
I'm happy.
All right. If you wanna get rid of that tie, you know where to leave it. So let's dispose of this item and stupid computer. So do we need to have an action on it? No action.
You don't have to.
So then let's move on. Shannon, thank you.
You're about to adjourn. I'd like to talk to a couple of you after you adjourn. Not an important topic, so that I'm just hanging around here for the
Okay.
next couple of minutes.
Perfect. Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
He is going to give you the tie.
Second.
I think he is. We're adjourned.
Motion and a second.
All right.
Well.
Thanks, everybody.